Okay, we are on the air with the Mgtow Health and Science podcast, and we'll be talking about a variety of topics today. We'll be talking about cohesion. We'll be talking about the white flower Mgtows, guns, money, and the white flower Mgtows, them racist Nazi Mgtows, and a variety of topics. Today we got a Shining Light with us. How are you today, Shining?
I'm fine, thanks for asking. Hello to everybody out there. They'll probably all start tuning in, but I'm interested in the scene you've set up for us there. Looks like you've got some interesting artifacts.
Yes, it's guns, money, hostess, white cakes, and white flour. Uh, there's been some accusations of bread racism.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Obviously, we're referring to the shocking video we all woke up to this morning when Straight Shooter was doing
straight,
a response to Paul Wilson's outing. You know, he outed himself as the white flower supremacists,
white
and
flowers, flowers, yes.
of course, the Straight Shooter picked up on that immediately, and this shook his this shocked him, and it was a great surprise to everybody, and everyone was is sort of trying to work out what to make of all this.
Yes, straight shooter was brave. He was a brave man, and he articulated just really good about the problem in Mgtow.
Yes, well, it all stems obviously with the astute journalism of the BBC. They've discovered that in fact Mgtow is an underground white supremacist, white flower movement, and unfortunately we can't hide that anymore. We have to sort of come out with it now. I think it's too late now. We might as well just bare
Oh,
our
there's
souls.
Nico.
Hello.
Nico outed the BBC, and the white flower movement came out from that, and it's been growing. God knows
Oh
what we'll
my
hear
God.
about.
Oh man, that was yeah, fun times, fun times. I'm loving this, whatever is happening right now. I'm loving it. Yeah. So yeah, what do you guys want to know? It's been
Well, let's
news
start.
developing as we speak. What?
Well, let's start from this morning and work our way backwards. Obviously, talking seriously now. I think obviously it was funny to see. I actually thought he was serious. When I tuned into, obviously I got messengers alert where he made the comment about Straight Shooter. He says, he called me what did he call me? Islamic fundamentalist or something, and he was saying that you don't know anything Straight Shooter. I thought, messengers, he's fallen out of grace with Straight Shooter. It wasn't until I watched like 3-4 minutes into that video I realized that he was joking. All the time I was thinking I'm gonna have to. This is one you can't ignore. This is one you need to make a video about. And then obviously at the end I thought,
They were taking the piss. I was laughing so hard this morning, man. It was unbelievably funny.
Did you see Paul Wilson's video first, or was it?
I watched Paul Wilson's first. No, actually, I watched Zita's video with the Nazi salute, the white flower.
Ah, really? Okay. Yeah, I saw the Straight Shooter, and then I saw Wilson's, and I've only just seen Zita's.
Yeah. Well, it was it was a good change of pace. Out of all the worries and stuff that I had yesterday, this was a lot better. Someone needs to put headphones on.
Okay, I got mine on.
Let's have a look.
It's always shining.
Oh, shining.
Okay, sorted, guys.
Oh, it's
Can I say something as an announcement? In 2 hours' time, okay, I'm gonna move to a new hangout. I don't know if you guys finish or not at the time, but in 2 hours, I've just spoken to Barbarossa. We're gonna move to a new hangout on my channel. I'll have it live on the spot. I told him to come here, but I think he just wants a chat. Just 3 people, me, him, and CS. And we're just gonna talk about the events that took place and what's happening right now. I think he wants to address this. Yeah, so that will be in 2 hours. Just for the 3 people watching this now, it's very important that you guys know this.
Busy man.
Well, fuck it, man. I don't think it's going to take too long to discuss it. I mean, everything that needed to be said, it's been said. I just hope to God some people listen to the message, at least the people that need the message to listen to it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, so good times lying ahead.
Yeah, I think this whole thing today, at least, we can lighten up in Mgtow, can't we? We can. Sometimes we don't have to talk about, it's about men and about being happy and just being lighthearted about things. Sometimes it just makes this whole event a lot better. It doesn't always have to be stress.
I did use Messenger's nighttime bedtime stories last night to just sleep. It was very soothing.
Nighttime bedtime stories.
I was actually quite horrified because there's a lot of swearing in that.
Oh man, I think everyone just took it to the other end. They were like, "Oh, what else can they say about us?"
Yeah, I'm glad there was a bit of light-hearted light to it, because it was getting quite bitter, wasn't it? Things were getting quite sour. Atmosphere. I mean, obviously, it's in connection with the racism issue that's been coming up, and obviously, we can't deny there's a racist element. That and I don't think Mgtow's racist. The fact is, men come from all types of backgrounds, and they bring in the baggage with them. They bring it to Mgtow. They've got, very extremist views, some of them, and they come into Mgtow and they carry it with them. And that's the thing about Mgtow. Anyone can just come along, make a channel, call it Mgtow, and then just say, all blacks need to die, all creationists need to die, they can just say anything, and unfortunately...
unfortunately they'll find people that agree with them. That's the unfortunate part. It's not that... I mean, I don't know what to say on that. I know that the BBC was not going to link us to that type of idea. I think they were going to try and paint us, and this is me making a prediction, and let's see if my prediction comes right at the end of it. They were trying to link us to just extremist elements, possibly people that hate women, that hate equality, that hate people in generally. I don't know, kind of like losers, people with just too much time on their hands that just want to hate people. That's what they want to paint us as.
It was linked with the Reggie. What was his name?
Ricky Yates.
Ricky Yates. Isn't he the black guy from like the children's program? Yeah. I've got a clip of him on, I think, like the third to the last video. He's actually doing a little bit of hosting some like investigative journalism, and I think he's trying to cover some far right extremist groups in Russia. I think his last one was done in Russia. I thought that one was done, but if it was his show, then you being on it is not a good thing.
Yeah, but from Russia with hate.
From Russia with hate. How do they do that link? How do you get that link between Mgtow and Russian hate group? I mean, how do you do that in your head? How can you even get there?
Ricky, that's his name. Let me find him.
I think they've selected like the worst of the comments.
Found him, Reggie Yates. That's the guy's name.
Reggie Yates, yeah.
Reggie Yates, yes. So right now he's doing the documentary that you can find on BBC iPlayer, because I do pay still for my TV license. That's gonna go away soon enough. Reggie Yates, Extreme Russia. That's the first one. Then there is some others in the series. So he only goes to the extreme sides.
Oh,
So we were gonna be painted under that light. It's just.
Yeah, like I said, if you're on his program, that's not a good thing. He's not here to say to mediate or to moderate or to try and reveal any truth. He's here to sensationalize.
Well,
I
I can see how it would go. It's very easy. Like all they have to do is talk to someone, just push him a bit, and then he starts saying all women are whores, all women are prostitutes, we hate all women, we want to kill all women, and then just people go along this line of thinking, and then at some point he just pauses and says, but what about your mother? And then just leaves a long pause there, and that's it, done. Finish scene, next scene.
yeah, I can see that happening.
But I thought they were gonna try and link you to like the neo-Nazi. Didn't you mention the neo-Nazis?
They said it was going to be part of the same series, from what I understand. Well, they didn't say that. Actually, in actual fact, they flat out refused it. Yeah, some people did investigations, but to be fair, we should have just Googled his name and looked for things ourselves. But I wanted to trust people, you know. Who knows? Maybe.
I think maybe you and CS, you were quite enthusiastic and quite encouraged by the fact that the BBC wanted to speak to you, and you thought this is a
no, it wasn't
too good of opportunity.
It wasn't at all like that. Actually, the first time that CS told me that the BBC was in the meeting, they weren't recording or had any equipment on them, but they went there to observe. And I think their hunger went up as soon as they observed a meeting of Mgtow, right? So they weren't even aware of Mgtow at all until it was Mike Buchanan that mentioned it. And I was horrified at the fact that they might actually get in contact with Mgtow and talk to them. The thing is, as we're very well aware of, people go through their phases. If you catch someone on rage, it's going to make good television. All right? And I think that's what they were counting on. Actually, when we were talking, and I think CS included this in his video. That's what I meant to say. They said they wanted to observe us having chats, right, having our conversation, so that they could see it, so that they could capture moments maybe of anger or whatever that might come out. And we didn't even think to consider that at the time, which it was possibly stupid of us, because they reassured us that that's what they wanted to do. They just wanted to show us from a fair light, you know. They wanted to see what we stand for. That's why I wanted to go, because I was extremely worried of what might come out. Not that I'm the best of people, like I have a short fuse myself, but I think compared to my short fuse, there's people with even shorter fuses out there.
Well, it's a warning to all of us. You know, be careful who you talk to. Not since that, I think what was it, some Canadian Mgtow, he texted into a radio station, and the radio station they did like a quick Google search of Mgtow, and they immediately cast a dark shadow over it. It's another warning to all Mgtow brothers. You know, don't embrace the mass media so readily, because they are sensationalists. They do like the scoop. It's about selling papers. It's about getting views. It's not about being non-biased and getting knowledge and the truth out there at all. So
yeah,
to all.
I was kind of happy that this happened, because it shows us, it gives us that picture of what we can expect. And what we can expect is they're gonna create a narrative that's a false narrative, and that's the way they're going to do it. That's the way we've always seen them do it. With Paul Elam, we've seen that with him 4 or 5 times, where he was happy, he was elated, he was going to go on this show, and then you get there and it's not what you think it is, and it's just it's a false narrative. And this guy sounds like a NWO conspiracy theory guy. Am I getting the right impression of him?
Not really. doesn't say very much, just sticks with the narrative, the traditionalist narrative, you know, what's right within the society and whatever, what people assume to be right, and just
He's a puppet.
leaves it there without saying anything. Yeah. He wasn't even in the meeting the first time, I don't think. I mean, I was lucky I wasn't in that meeting. Thank goodness for that. And I don't think I will be attending any public meetings anytime soon.
Yeah, so this just says to us, you know, it goes back to all roads lead back to Mgtow, and walking away is the best thing to do now. Where you just walk away from the media, because we can't expect them to do anything but what they're going to do. And this is a lot what we say about women. Just walk away, because they're going to do it's evolutionary, and it's genetics in them. They're going to do what they're going to do. So just think about the risk factor, and we can apply the same thing to the media. They're just going to do what they're going to do. We walk away and let them come to us. Let them ask us sooner or later. And Mgtow is going to grow, and it's going to keep growing. Sooner or later, they're going to have to come to us, and they're going to have
Well, this serves as a good warning. Yeah, I would completely agree with you, because I was preoccupied in growing the movement. I mean, in my head, it still needs to be the main goal, but I think we need to go about it in a kind of like an underground fashion rather than going through the mainstream media. There is no need to address the mainstream media. They're going to be obsolete anyway at some point.
Right. They're you know, they have to treat us like any other movement, with the fairness and equality that they treat. If they would call a feminist like Gloria Steinem up, they would pay her. If they did a podcast, they would pay her for that podcast. That's copyright. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's copyright. It's the way capitalism works. They're admitting the way capitalism works here, and they're saying it works differently for us, and that's bias, and that's bigotry.
Well, to be aware, well, to be fair, I never even considered that I could be getting paid for this, because I've been doing everything for free forever. Yeah.
Well, that's how it all starts. I mean, feminists started doing it all for free, and now they're raking it in. They're making the top dollar.
Yeah, excellent. Fuck feminism.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry. I've been in this state of anger since yesterday about this. And when CS told me, I made the video almost kind of like on the spot. I allowed my brain to cool down for like 10 minutes. Then I made the video, and then I released it.
Well, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did.
I thought it needed to be said, and to be fair, I think everyone needs to fucking reshare that video.
Well,
you guys are making me good sense on the dollar.
Let's put in the BBC for a while and show them what Mgtow's got. That's what my thought was. Let's do these comical videos about them.
BBC is shit.
BBC is shit.
Nobody watched BBC. Everybody watched YouTube. YouTube is where it's at.
Right.
Well,
I told everyone to not pay for TV license and just focus on YouTube.
Nobody pay for your license. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Because you're in essence being taxed in the UK for creating these programs. If at some point you do not agree with the content of those programs, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to pay for it.
That's true. That's true. I mean, anyone that gives money to the TV license, you're helping the BBC make these, tragic disinformation. But on another note, I think Mgtow's going just fine. I think more and more men are catching on, and the women, some women are beginning to take notice and saying, "Oh shit, what's going on here?" Not as many men on the dating scene.
There is absolutely no men on the dating scene. All of the single friends that I have are just fucking. That's all they're doing. They're not doing anything else. No one wants to commit to anyone. They don't even imagine their lives with a woman, especially when I sit down and I start talking to them about their ex-girlfriends. And once they start going through the motions and then I start breaking things down, they're like, yeah, I'm never getting in a relationship again. It's about time men wake up, and I think they have a better way of spreading the message as well, because I hear them spreading the message to other men without me doing anything.
Well, it'd be interesting if one of the dating websites got in touch with us, because I'm sure they could tell us the figures. I'm sure that the men to women ratio has certainly changed. I know when they
I'm
first
sure
started,
is,
it was
yeah.
like 20 guys to one female member, and I think these days it's more or less of 50-50, and I'm sure it's going to go into the more women than men soon, because I mean, dating websites, I think the men have to pay and the women are free, I think.
Do you want me to tell you a story with Tinder?
Tell me a story, brother. I
Yeah,
want to
let's
hear
hear
that
that.
story about Tinder.
Let's go a story with Tinder. So I was sleeping with this girl that I met on Tinder, right? And I was like, I just wanted to do a social experiment. I'm like, just give me your Tinder, right? Let's just play, right? Just swipe right, which right means yes. Let me see how many matches you're gonna get, right? Because I know from experience that you swipe left, right, and until you pick someone. And I know even if I swipe right, and I think I'm a magnificent creature, I'm not gonna get as many likes as a woman. Well, that was my. And she was swiping right, and I could count on one hand the no's that she got after, like, I don't know, 100 fucking matches.
Oh,
right?
shit.
So if you're an average-looking woman with an okay body, you're gonna get the attention of like a queen. It's like, yeah, well, of course we wanna fuck you. Everyone is like that, and they're begging.
Guys, we need to get out of that simp mentality.
Yeah.
You're like perpetrating this
Oh, yeah.
gynocentrism. Guys, you need to tone down with that female simping. They need you more than you need them, and that's how women got you pussy begging.
Well, I'm gonna give them an advice for Tinder. This is what I started doing recently because of Tinder. Any match I get, I stopped using words. I just go like, That's the way I communicate. MOOOOH. And then I make, and then I'll give them another sound. I don't even communicate as a human being, because there is nothing, man. There is no point. They'll get so much attention from everyone else. I do that, and then I do the kind of like the mark for a number. If they don't give me the number, I just go like, and then I unmatch.
Well, how about that recent video with a guy? You've all seen the Farabi prank when the guy steals another guy's girlfriend by pulling up.
Right.
There's another one that's just come out. The guy, he says nothing. He pulls up beside the woman, and he just beckons his arm over to her, and she jumps into the car.
Yeah.
Doesn't say a word.
Yeah. I had a similar incidents with, but
was it Vitali? The guy's Vitali, right?
I don't know. Some Mgtow linked it to me. The only thing I watch is what the guys linked me to.
Yeah, I had similar incidences with that, but my thoughts were very much different. I did the Facebook thing where you just put your picture up there, and it's a Facebook dating thing. It was at one time, and I got like 214 women looking at me, and I looked at the pictures and I thought, how can these women actually think that they could go out with me? They were fat, they were old, they were disgusting. Most of them hit the wall a long time ago, and there they were, and I thought, geez, this is rather insulting. There
is a disconnect. Right?
Yeah, nowhere in real life any of these girls could ever talk to me.
No, there is a disconnect, and the disconnect is between what I think is look, I think women are looking for high status men, and they believe that if they obtain higher status for themselves or whatever, they suddenly become better looking, just like men become better looking in their eyes. So a lot of these females have been working for so many years, and good for them, man. I want more women to pay more taxes, right? But it's true. It's true.
Yeah, they should. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was talking to a friend of mine, a female friend of mine, and she was like, "Well, I'm a doctor. I need someone who's at least a doctor or above so that I can go out with him or whatever." I'm like, "Yes, but your looks are not doctor level. Your looks are kind of like below, like I don't know." I'm like, "What are you talking about? That's not how men get attracted to people. Men just get attracted. Yeah, you're hot enough, I'll sleep with you. That's the cutoff. That's how things work." And there is a disconnect for women nowadays, and I don't think all of them understand this. and they've been fighting for so long to go to university, to take their college degrees, to start making something of their lives. You know, all those things are worthy goals, but that doesn't mean that makes you more attractive to the opposite sex. And
Right.
they started hating us for it.
Yeah, they're looking at men like women would look at men, not like men would look at the situation, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're,
Yeah.
and the simping just adds to it because they know they can always get sex online, and they know they can always get sex, but that doesn't mean the man's in love with her or she's worthy. She's just an object at that point, and they're self-validating their own objection then.
Oh shit! Men need to get a bit more fussy. I think they're too pussy hungry guys. You know, you just give it like the guy says. Is it Kevin? He just said that you're giving it away for free.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's cheap. You know, you're making yourself cheap when you give things for free, especially yourself. You're making the market. You're flooding the market. You're sleeping with women that are pretty disgusting. Let's face it.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely, man. And I think Chris Rock said it. Dick seems to be a bad investment, right?
Yeah, but isn't this what the Mgtow celibacy for a while thing is? When you come into Mgtow, try to be celibate for a while, try to abstain from a while, try to get your focus and your view, and then you think of yourself with a higher cost. You think of your bride price or your value in any situation. You've got more value then. After you do that for a while and you stop simping and you stop looking at every woman and you can put a certain value on yourself, and that raises. The longer you go celibate, you start looking at yourself in the real light of, yeah, I'm a worthy man. I have a job, I have a career, I'm a good-looking guy. Why should I go out with this hag or this woman that is so much beneath me or so not as smart as me? And whatever quality you put to that, you don't have to accept less. But the feminism and the oops, I do F word. The feminism and the women today just think that you should accept them.
I think we should do a dollar jar.
A dollar jar.
for the
Yeah.
feminist word.
Yeah. So anyone, think about it, man. This is what we do from now on, right? We will need to agree. All of us agree. Anyone who takes part in these hangouts, we have an agreement. It's going to be a dollar jar over in the US. It's going to be a pound jar for the UK, right? Every time we say the F word, right?
Yeah.
We put a pound in there. As soon as we reach 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever, we donate that to the mayor. Done.
Done. Yeah, good idea.
Yep.
Well, how do the viewers feel about that? I wish we had a little thing we can keep track on the board here, you know.
I'm sure there'll be some software you could get.
Like a little bell that goes ding.
Well, actually, that is not a good incentive because we should be donating anyway.
Yeah, we should be. It would be fun just to, because we're going to donate anyways, most of us.
Well, we'll think about something. For the time being, you're allowed to use the F word. And I don't mean fuck.
Oh.
Fuck is perfectly allowed.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. What else happened this week and around the Mgtow scene? There was some tensions and cohesion. The cohesion thing. A lot of guys were saying, if we got to tone it down too much, and that was the lead up to the BBC thing, where if we ever get, and the thought there was, if we ever get on the air, or if some of us ever get viewed, we can't be saying these things about women. And I thought that was generated the whole thing earlier this week.
I've said something of the sort in a video that I that I made almost a month ago, and I called it a month ago, and I called it the disease called Mgtow.
Yeah.
For any of the viewers that haven't watched that video, please follow my channel. It's the disease called Mgtow. It's a perfect video. You will highly enjoy it, or you will flame me just like the rest of the guys. That's brilliant. Let's continue with the current program.
Link in the low bar.
So yeah, I mean, at the time I was saying that I mean it's perfectly good and nice that everyone goes through the rage the rage mode, the red pill rage, which is okay, and people come out of that, and it's something that's perfectly recognized in the scene. The problem is when those videos stay, and they stay forever. And then it comes out in a program, and then you see yourself, and you just go, hey, I'm famous. And it's for all the wrong reasons. Not that we should care, but to be fair, I'm coming around to that position because it seems to me that whatever we do, we're just going to be painted as...
Yeah, whatever we do, we're going to get painted badly. So why care? I mean, just walk away, do your thing, do your Mgtow thing, and if the F word slips off your lip or the something bad, as long as it's truthful and you can validate it with truth, then I don't care anymore, because I know that they're just going to cherry pick whatever they want. And it was kind of refreshing to know this now.
Well, Mgtow was always about men going through tough experiences and expressing their conclusion about it. I mean, be it having a negative perspective on women, or a negative perspective on government and the state of things. That's what Mgtow was always about. And it seems, obviously, when more and more men coming from not as tough a background, you know, they might not have had as a bitter experience with women as other men. They're not going to see it in the same light. You know, they're not going to see Mgtow in the same light. They're just going to see it as a type of freedom for men, as a reason to just to make the most of your own individual life. But you know, let's talk about it. You know, let's not fall out. You know, let's not blame each other. Let's not boycott or you start, you know, being insulting. You know, there's always that Mgtow etiquette I'm always trying to promote.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're discussing, and I was saying that over the past month, I would say, me and Messenger have discussed on almost absolutely everything, right? In every single video that we've made together. But we remain friends. We talk every day, and we
best of friends. I have to add, the best of friends.
We talk every day, and we're absolutely fine with each other. I mean, disagreements and points of view and all that, they can happen. But I said that many times before, that it depends where your heart is and where you stand. And we all stand, at least the guys here, I can vouch for sure. We all stand to help other men. We all stand to help others and get people to heal and get better for themselves. And we will disagree, and we disagree all the fucking time, even among ourselves. And
you gotta have a thick skin around here and not be so oversensitive. Look at the normal situation in our normal everyday lives. We go out to the bar with a bunch of buddies, and one guy's a Jets fan, one guy's a Patriots fan, one guy's a baseball fan. He don't like your team. You throw it around and you make it a joke. You know, you don't get oversensitive about it. It's just an ideology of sports or something. And we do that with religion. We do it with politics. You know, just because I may be have different political views than my buddy that I'm going to the bar with, I don't send him away. You know, that would be ridiculous, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, guys, you know, keep the dialogue going. You know, keep the channels open. I want to pick up on that point about, because Mgtow, it's about improving lives. It's about improving your own life. First of all, obviously, you can't help anybody else if you're in dire need of help as well. But you know, it's got to be about making lives better for men. And if your intention is, well, as long as I'm okay, to hell with everybody else. Well, that's not what Mgtow was about, was it? I mean, the only reason why you found Mgtow was because somebody reached out and you found that message. You picked up that message because somebody wanted to help men, and that's got to be
some other courageous man. Yeah, some other courageous man that made a video, reached out to you, and it takes courage to do this in a blue pill world that wants to hurt you, that wants to see you down, that wants to see you as the disposable male. It takes courage for these men to come out and try to respect that courage and learn from it, and maybe get a little courage yourself. Blue pill men are so unhealthy. They don't have that courage to say the truth.
And I'm going. What I was going to add to that is that I mean I've been in the middle of all the fights and arguments. Have I? Yeah, I've been staring.
You
Yeah,
have,
dude,
you
right
have,
there.
Nico. You've been right in the middle, full time.
It's been live. It's
It's
been live.
Nico.
Poor Nico, poor Nico. I feel for you.
I've been constantly defensive, and I do admit that. I've been fucking constantly defensive. Someone offers like the tiny bit of criticism, I'm like, fuck you, fuck your mom, fuck everyone.
It does get to you after a while.
Yeah, it does, it does.
You're only human.
I mean, what I said that we should help other people, but priority number one should always be yourself. Priority number one. If you need more time to help yourself, do not feel inclined to help anyone else. Everyone needs to be, first of all, well within themselves so that they can actually take some of the burden and help others. And I've taken a step back because I felt that, you know, it was getting to me. And it was actually getting to me. I was constantly angry. And no one in Mgtow really figured it out. Well, okay, bullshit. A lot in Mgtow figured it out, but
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's always talked about. It's a cycle, isn't it? It's like you absorb, because obviously a lot of these stories that the Mgtow come out with, a lot of the experiences are very, very extreme. You know, guys have been, you know, to the point of suicide, and many guys have been to the point of suicide and back, and, you know, losing everything they have, you know, everything, right down to their freedom, to their homes and their children, and just to absorb that and to be in the middle of that and to get, I mean, when you have like empathy and compassion for your brother, you feel his pain, you know, and you're going through it with him, and then you get the other side of the guys who are very, very, you know, narcissistic and very self-destructive, and they don't care for anyone. You know, they love the Mgtow message because it validates their selfishness. You know, to hell with everyone, and there is this group who seems to be hell-bent on getting any upper hand over anybody. You know, even if it's men, so long as they get some kick out of it. And obviously, this is going to be really bad for any group. You know, having such a toxic individual is going to be bad for any group. But, you know, how do we deal with these men? You know, these men, they are, you know, they are quite narcissistic. They do have mental problems, and they come into our circles, and, you know, they promote the label Mgtow, but they don't particularly support helping other men.
Right. Let's talk about what we've seen in the Mgtow this week. It was kind of natural, cognitive, something that happened. The levity. Who was the guy that made I want to be a trans social? It was hilarious.
Oh, no holds barred. No holds
barred.
Yeah, that was so funny.
It was so funny. He wants to be trans social. He wants to be in the upper class, and you know, it's a parody of the message. We all know it's a satire. But it was just hilarious, and then Straight Shooter did his, and Paul did his, and Zeta did his, and that helps. That helps so much around here because we lose track of just laughing and just being men and just being natural men, you know.
Oh, did you read the comments? Some people thought he was serious.
Yeah, there was
a lot of people thought he was serious.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
Them are the fixed people.
But that's what I mean. Like, a lot of people will listen to one video and forget the videos that you've made before, right? And everything is on a continuation scale. Like, there is an underlying idea behind what we do.
Right. Yeah. When we think about what we do, like I said, the levity was there because maybe a couple guys seeing that, hey, this is going way too far. We're getting way too serious. Let's lighten up, and that's natural with men. We don't have to talk about these things, and it's a cognitive. And men, we're like other branches of the tree. We're like other roots hooking together. We kind of know what each other are thinking, don't we?
Yeah, I think that's our part. I think we do have a lot in common. I think the Mgtow men, they do have a lot in common, and generally speaking, we do understand where each other are coming from. I mean, we see the things we talk about all around us. I mean, we don't have to go very far to see the type of toxic gynocentrism we're all you know, getting used to now, and I think when Mgtow do meet each other out in the open world, it's like, oh wow, brothers, you know, best friends.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have met any Mgtow, you know, just out
I've met just the one.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, just
ugly motherfucker he was.
just out in the open world, you know, like on other forums and on. I mean, there's one game I play like Warcraft 3. It's a old 2003 game, and
I remember that.
Every now and again, some guy, I rename my account Mgtow Shining, and now and again I get people shouting, "Oh, I'm Mgtow too," and all of a sudden he's like, "You've got your best friends."
Yeah, yeah, and real life is a little bit different, isn't it? Nico, you said you have a few friends. I have a few friends here that relate to the Mgtow, and they know I'm Mgtow, but they won't do what we do, because they don't want to, you know, they still feel that slight shame about, you know, opening up with the topics. But in real life, we all have a few friends that are Mgtow, and they just don't know it yet.
My flatmate is Mgtow, definitely. Yeah. Right, but he's not going to do what I'm doing right now, and I think he probably have a better message than me. Who else? I'm throwing some hardcore red pill knowledge to two of my other friends, and they've started to aspire the message. Actually, one of them picked a girl up recently by telling her that she knows someone who's Mgtow.
Oh,
he knows someone who's Mgtow. And then they started discussing female nature and stuff like that, and he had sex with her. Now,
that's female nature.
Yeah. And I was like, that's not how it's meant to be used. Please talk this with other men.
What a simp.
But they're out there, so we often talk about, you know, the count of Mgtow. We get it thrown at us that we're a small group and we're just minute, but we're not really a small group. We're a group of maybe 800 video makers out there, or maybe 800 YouTube holders, and that's small. But if you think about it in real life terms, there's about 30,000 Mgtow. You can kind of go through the numbers on that, but multiply that by 4. And then multiply that by 6, because everybody knows 4 or 6 guys that are lifelong bachelors, and just they adhere to them.
Well, I want to say something about that, because it is strange, because there are those who associate with Mgtow, and every now and again you get those who support Mgtow, but they don't want to give themselves that label, you know, like that black pastor says, oh, you know, oh, I understand, and there was a recent one, you know, in support of Mgtow. I mean, the Manosphere itself, they do like the idea of a male philosophy that supports masculinity, that moves away from gynocentrism, but then they don't want that label, because they know they can't keep up. They're not going to be able to keep up with the philosophy. I mean, a lot of them, they are.
Right.
Let's face it, you know, they've come with a lot of baggage. I don't want to go. I don't want to depress everyone by saying the type of shit these guys come up with. But yeah, I mean, you've got like the guys who want to propagate Mgtow, and then you get the guys who want to learn about Mgtow. Then you get the guys who like Mgtow, and then you get the guys who are friends with them. So it's a very strange circle.
Right. Yeah. We have producers, and we have content makers, and we have writers, and we have commenters. And those commenters, the millions and millions of comments we get, they're all single guys that just they're out there and they want to talk about Mgtow, and they understand Mgtow. This is in real life too, so it's multiply whatever we are as the producers of Mgtow, and then multiply that by, you know, your commenters, and then multiply that by 4. That's how I get the number, and then I can see, wow, Mgtow is huge.
Man, there's a lot of people that are Mgtow. I think of it like this. I think of it completely differently. If you assume that 25 to 35-year-olds, the majority of the men, especially in the UK, US, etc., they're not getting married. So in the Western world, the majority of men are not getting married. They have no wish to get married, because we're logical creatures. You know, what would you do, right? And anyway, so the majority of these men that are actually Mgtow. That's what they are, and I don't think a lot of them plan to get married, although they didn't come across the message yet. So when they do come across the message, they're going to associate with the label. The label is just there for people to come across to the message. And it's I think there is this almost distancing, because a lot of the men in Mgtow do not associate with the outside world. As soon as they come home from work or whatever they're doing, they don't want to engage, because the world is full of simps, manginas, Captain Save-A-Hole, blah, 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 all those things, right? So you don't want to put yourself out there, and then suddenly, you know, another man puts you under the bus. But once you start talking to people that you trust, one by one, you uncover more and more people. And it seems to me as if the world is divided right now to Mgtow and traditionalists. It's as simple as that. And the traditionalists are living an illusion. And the traditionalists are getting shrunk and shrunk and shrunk and shrunk until there is none of them, because they keep coming across the same women that we come across. The women don't change. It's exactly the same women. So I think it's inevitable.
You know, definitely inevitable. That's the word. I mean, the shit that's going on, the shit that's going down. I mean, manspreading is just the latest thing. You know, getting arrested for having your legs too wide.
Being a man, sitting like a man.
And yeah, Harriet Harman, or was it Patricia Hewitt? You know, she wanted to make it illegal to shout at your wife. And no matter how blue pill you want to be, you're gonna get flushed down the toilet, and you're gonna come to some realization that there's something very, very wrong with society, and you're gonna go searching, whether you're gonna go soul searching or on the internet, or you're just gonna see that. You know, the more you get involved with everything, the more you get involved with government, with life, and with everything you're told you're supposed to do, the more trouble you're going to get into. You know, the more you get taxed, the poorer you are, the more in trouble you're going to get in the law. I mean, I'm sure everybody's on some file with the police. I'm positive, whether it's for a parking ticket or non-payment of some tax or.
I haven't. I don't exist.
You exist. I'm sure you exist on some file. They've probably got pictures of your. They've probably got dick pics of you and
dick pics of me do exist.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a self-destructive society. It's not going to last as they propagate it. Society cannot last as it is.
Oh well.
Well, we just keep doing what we do, and what we do is really important. Getting the message out to men, making them feel comfortable with themselves again. You know, combating that blue pill traditionalism is. We don't need anybody else's help. We don't need the BBC. We don't need mainstream media. We, for God's sakes, don't need Fox News
or BBC.
Yeah, and just keep doing what we do, and we provide a service, and it's going to grow. It's going to grow monumentally. And they can't stop it, and I think that's what scares them. They can't stop it now.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I think that the more men that come along, the more men that can be saved. I mean, it's a very serious problem out there. I mean, men and boys are getting a real shafting from the system, and I think when they find out and realize that actually it's okay. You know, it's okay to be by yourself. It's okay to live without getting married or settling down or having kids, or you know, getting tied to a mortgage or getting tied to a corporation. I think you know, more and more men can start doing things that you know, help them, and you know, help other men develop the human race.
Yeah, I just watched a video this week. It was a young black man. He's new to Mgtow, and he started off in his garage. He was playing a game, and then he walked into the house. He sat down on the steps, and he says, "Man, I'm enjoying this. I'm having some solitude for the first time in a long time. I'm just sitting here with myself, just doing what I want to do." And he says, "That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. Just being myself."
Man, do you remember? Were you there, Traversable, when we were talking with Osiris?
Oh yeah, Osiris. Yeah.
Yeah. And I spent like an hour looking at fucking Lego models. Fucking
I just
play. I'm fucking old for that kind of shit, right? That's what the Lego model says. But fucking hell, I would have fun buying that.
Heck yeah, everybody loves
And
it.
that's
Oh,
all
man.
right. You know, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. You know, let's. I think Barbarossa said it when I asked him what the you know what Mgtow was all about. He says it's finding the inner child again.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. Yeah, we were just talking about that the other day with Barbarossa. You know, building Legos, there's nothing wrong with that, but a woman will want to shame you for that. You know, and
Society will want to shame you for that. That's the problem. You know.
society want to shame you. Yeah, that's cool stuff. Oh man, I wish I could put that picture up of that Lego set that we were looking at the other day.
That was amazing,
It was
man.
an amazing Lego set. Yeah, that'll give you weeks and weeks of entertainment for yourself, and then you can put it up on a video. Look what I did. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I've been really busy. I've been slightly distracted, and that's why I haven't been making any videos. But look what I made.
Yeah, look what I made. Yeah.
Every
like
Mgtow would understand.
I think so. You go through the store and you see the new chainsaw and you go, ah, I'm buying it. And I don't even have a tree in my yard, but I own a chainsaw because it's cool.
Yeah. You'll find some use for it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I bet he'll buy wood just to cut
I'm
something.
gonna buy some wood just so I can cut it up. And
No,
make
forget that. I'm going to go out into the woods so I can go. I'm going to find some wood.
I'm gonna try some woods. Yeah, yeah. We do that. We do that as men. We get fascinated with things, building things. You know, even with a little bicycle when we were kids, we took them apart. We put them back together. We got our first car. Who didn't take the engine apart on their first car?
I didn't. I'm scared of it. It looks very weird.
I mean, I had to learn that lesson. You know, don't take the heads off if you don't want them.
And then when you put it back together, there's always some bits left over.
Yeah, where does this go?
Even with every fucking toy, man, there was always fucking screws left. I never understood that. They make them faulty. That's what I always thought. And then like a month later, it would break.
Yeah.
It's a conspiracy against boys, so the mom can blame the boy for busting the toy.
Oh man, you know what I found really nice over this week? Okay, we had this BBC thing that took place, but I've seen almost kind of like a unison among the Mgtow community, like people coming together and just having fun. You know, well, we're gonna be the criminals anyway, so fuck it.
Yeah,
we're gonna be painted as the bad guys. Yeah, at least now we know. It's kind of.
We need more that. We need more cohesion. We need more understanding. You know, generally the differences between men are not enough that we can't get along. If not, at least, like I said, discuss that and our differences. But I think that there needs to be that commonality where we want to build something. We want to build some type of a brotherhood. I think that is necessary for Mgtow to be stronger. I mean, there's only so much you can do as individuals. Surely people know that.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. Who's in the chat now? I think I see.
Oh well, yes. Thingy had a question. He's gone now.
Who's Thingy?
What's his name? The one who always comes on. Van Dyke.
Van Dyke. Okay.
Oh, there he is. He had a question straight away. I really feel for this guy sometimes. He goes, "How can young guys avoid fearing old men, especially manly men, construction workers, etc.?" He says that he's basically afraid of old men, of those work. Probably when guys come round to fix something around his house, he appears to have some phobia about them.
Oh yeah, I used to have that when I was younger. I would look at because we older men we generally got the thick beards and we got the full facial hair. We've went through our second stage sexualism stage. And, we got this rough. We got a couple cuts on us. Yeah, we look intimidating to a young man. I remember that when I was a kid. And sometimes you idolize one of those guys if he's got that rough bikerish thing going on, and he's doing good with the girls. And you idolize them, but that's about picking your own male mentor figure. Do you want to be a scary guy, or do you want to be that guy that men look up to or boys look up to?
I find that I've always my problem was, and it's why I got beaten up a lot, was always that I didn't really feel a lot of fear when it came to well, anyone. I was an idiot, right? And I would always go above and beyond. Like, I would say the extra things. I would challenge people. I would look people straight in the eye and tell them off, right? I didn't give a shit. I think that's the best way. It's to show no fear is to actually not give a fuck. But obviously, don't go there and call those people's mothers cunts. I mean, that's not gonna help in any way. It says people are people, man. The majority of people want the same thing. They just like a cold beer.
Yeah.
They want to sit down, scratch their belly, clean their belly buttons. That's what the majority of men in this world want. There's nothing
I like
else.
that. I hate to use this example, but Jessica and Jessica Rabbit, she says, "I'm not a bad girl. I'm just drawn that way." But you can apply that to men too. We're not bad men. We're just drawn that way. We just look a little rougher. You sit down with one of us, and man, we're just, most guys are big softies inside. They just want to have a few beers, kick it around, punch each other in the shoulder a little bit, throw the football, around or whatever, kick the ball.
But it's a good point. I mean, boys that were never brought up around other men, they're going to find that behaviour strange. They're going to shout. They're going to find shouting and loud laughter and play fighting very strange.
Yeah. Hey, Osiris, has joined us. Hello, Osiris.
Oh, brother, you made it.
Yeah, bro. Hey, how's things?
Oh my God, his amazing voice.
All right, Nico. Have you been listening to the podcast so far, brother?
No.
Yeah, I've been keeping up with it. Yeah.
Well, maybe we can get Osiris's point of view on that. On Van Dyke's question.
You'll have to refresh my memory. I was doing stuff and puttering around while I was.
Well, Van Dyke, he's a gentleman, and he's got a type of phobia around manly men. He's from a single mother, brought by a single mother, and he finds it intimidating to have like other men. I think he puts it construction workers, electricians. So obviously, when they come round or when he's walking past a construction site, he's afraid that they're going to shout at him or laugh at him. What advice would you give this man?
Well, I would say I had similar problems when I was younger, particularly during my teen years. I think that improved after I spent a lot of time with other men. I think that's really the only thing that tends to help in those situations, purely because the reason that the fear sets in, I think, is because you don't know what's normalized behavior around men. And so for that reason, you think wrongly that you're going to be judged based upon perhaps a lack of understanding of male culture or what have you. And the reality, here's the funny thing, I think. Yeah, I'll lower my mic because I'm obviously.
Yeah, it's just slightly loud. Continue talking, man. Don't pay attention to what I write.
Yeah, I need to hear your voice so I can adjust.
I'll try and keep it further away as well. No, I was just saying that in terms of the way, because there's so many single-parent families, of which I was one, you get this idea in your head, because your mother will put it there, is that there's this expectation that men will put in terms of how you must be in order to qualify as a man. And this is complete bunk, right? This is what's not actually told to people, is that we men generally don't have any expectations of other men. We judge them based upon what they do rather than what they say, or specific kinds of behaviors that they might enact and so forth. And this, I think, needs to be taught to men, is that you're okay in inside within male company. Because you won't find that. The judgments, ironically, tend to come from women.
Yeah.
And this is what you find, is that women, because they are oftentimes judgmental of each other. And see, they say men are competitive, but this is not strictly true. Men compete in order to achieve a particular outcome during a set challenge, let's say. So say, for example, we've got a space race, right? You've got the US and Russia or something like this. And so the men involved in those projects will seek to best each other, right? But women don't do it in order to achieve something. They're doing it because they it seems to be something that's inherent in their nature, possibly because they know there's such a great threat to them in terms of attracting a mate or whatever else it might be. I think a lot of that comes into play just in sociological terms when women are socializing. But for men, it's not like that. So I think we need to try and get that across to young men who maybe don't understand the fallacy of male culture, so to speak.
Well, here's a question. Now that we got Nico and Osiris on, I think Nico will appreciate this this query. We were talking about the camaraderie, talking about the brotherhood, and we're talking about certain toxic elements in the manosphere. And when someone who is new to Mgtow comes in to the community and obviously gets involved, because there's a difference between someone who just watches the videos and someone who makes videos and gets involved with the community and opens himself up to other content makers and other people on Hangouts, etc. I mean, Nico, I think you'll understand this when we're trying to advise. I mean, where do we draw the line when we're trying to warn like the newcomers about, for example, toxic, like racist Mgtow or far right Mgtow, or maybe some Mgtow that have got some very toxic or harmful or very selfish ideas. I mean, obviously, Osiris, you've been quite new. You probably haven't seen as much of it as maybe Joe has seen. But should we warn new Mgtow about? Oh, look out for example, veganarian. I think it's safe to call him out. I think everybody knows about him. I mean, where do we draw the line?
This is going to be a controversial opinion, and it's just my own opinion on this. I don't think we should draw a line, and I'll tell you why. Because people that are of a toxic nature generally tend to shoot themselves in the foot. You can't warn somebody oftentimes against other people that might have toxic effects purely because they'll want to know and experience that for themselves. See, it's very, very easy for, and this happens in women's spheres generally quite a lot, is there's a lot of backbiting that takes place. This is something that is a womanly trait, I find. And if we men were even to attempt to do that with goodwill within us, I think that could backfire. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. I'd say, it's best to let people find out on their own in their own terms. The thing I would say is that there is sometimes an effect. I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. There's an effect sometimes that happens where because men have been through so much, they oftentimes tend to react in particular ways which other men sometimes even can't understand. And that's not to excuse their actions, but at the same time, like I had this experience recently where I was quite judgmental of somebody, and I started to realize there was a reason why this person had been acting in this particular way, but I hadn't known that before. So we should be slow to make rash judgments about people, and when we see what they say or their actions, those automatically either draw people towards them or repel them, and that's just dependent on the way people are. Generally, it's human nature, I think.
Well, thank you for that, Osiris. What advice would you give to the guys who and I'm sure you'll run across, guys that become disillusioned with Mgtow because they've come across, various elements that have been very, offensive or been very, negative, and they're now disillusioned with Mgtow because they've, been on the hangout with some arseholes, or they've had some, some arsehole comments, or, they've had. I mean, what advice would you give to these guys?
I would say that every group generally does tend to have extremists within it. This is something I try and warn against, is the idea that if you look at, for example, the beginnings of virtually any group, even the Black Power movement, for example, there was elements within that which were so xenophobic and so dangerously racist, right, that they were very much in favour of almost bordering on terrorist acts, so to speak. And the same thing was true of the Ku Klux Klan in America when that started up. Some of the things that they were saying were actually quite valid, but others were not. Right, so you can oftentimes find that these kind of fringe elements will pop up virtually in any sociological group. It doesn't matter who you are. And when people become disillusioned because of the extremists, I think that's always there's not really much you can do about that, I don't think, except to say that Mgtow is not an ideology. So theoretically, we shouldn't actually get extremists or people with xenophobic views or things along those lines. Theoretically, it shouldn't exist. And if it does, that's an indictment of those people and not the philosophy itself, I would say.
Well, Joe, I'm sure you've seen people come and go. I'm sure. Oh, here's Messenger. Let's greet the brother.
Hello, Messenger.
Don't dox yourself. Good, man.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people come.
You'll only be jealous of my good looks.
Hey, I trimmed my beard. I'll show you some pictures later. I had a neck beard.
Which beard?
And it was touching my penis. Well, actually, my penis was touching it. Yeah.
Did you manscape?
No, but I did buy a new trimmer. Man, welcome.
I've been listening, so I know Osiris was in the middle of explaining something. So I've been listening for the last 10 minutes, so I'll just I'll carry on listening for a bit.
Well, I was just asking Osiris, what advice would you give Mgtow in general and those who are thinking about detaching from the label because they've come across some negative elements amongst people that call themselves Mgtow, you get like the racists and the idiots and the psychos and the nihilists and obviously like guys who have come to Mgtow for therapy, for help, for self-help, for some type of a comfort, and they find some very nihilistic but very toxic individuals. They say, oh shit, Mgtow's all fucked. I mean, we've seen that. I'm sure, Joe, you've seen that too. I mean,
yeah, it's cherry picking. People cherry pick.
Yeah. So what do you say?
They know where not to go now, though. I get people come to me and they say, "Oh, you still sound very angry." And I say to them, "Look, this is where I fit in now. This is where people come because I associate with them, and they associate with me. Even if it's my past from years ago, I will revisit that past and speak to them about that subject on their level. It doesn't mean that's my life now, but a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. They sort of say you should move on, and I think, well, I have moved on. The family court was years ago. All that stuff was years ago, but I'm relating to people because they need someone to talk to, and I think I can understand them. And a lot of people are uncomfortable, and I say to them, well, maybe this channel isn't for you.
Yeah,
just pick where you want to go.
Yeah, I see that the same way. People lose the, try to, what they're saying is forget the history and forget all that and pretend that it's not real. Isn't that a delusion? I can't live my life in a delusion where I pretend these things didn't happen to me and I pretend that gynocentrism is out there, because you know what? That's what the blue pill people are doing out there. They're pretending that life is happy, happy, joy, joy, and they're not dealing with the problem that inhibits them from dealing with the problem. I'm comfortable with what had happened and telling those stories about what happened, because I need to revisit them, because I don't want to be in that happy, happy, joy, joy world. I want to live in the reality world, the real world of rationalization and men.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the problems is, I mean, we'll keep saying this, but as Mgtow grows, as the Manosphere grows, as our YouTube channels grow, as we get more and more subscribers, and Mgtow's becoming more exposed, people come into Mgtow for very different reasons. I mean, some people they come to it because, you know, they've been through a disastrous relationship, that, you know, they've had, you know, even abusive mothers, they've had abusive wives, they've been, you know, dragged through, you know, the legal system, and they're trying to make sense of it. You know, some men, you know, have been, you know, multiple attempted suicides, and, you know, they come from that dark background, and some they've come because they see Mgtow as a way of dealing with women, of dealing with society, the Western society. They see, oh well, you know, listen to these guys. You know, if I follow these guys know what they're talking about. You know, I can live quite a happy life, and then they're not going to fit. You know, they're not going to want to hear all this depressing stuff. I mean, yeah, for a while it sounds all right, but after that they're not having fun anymore. So I think the problem is, you know, people they go on. Sorry, Nico.
No, I was going to say that it depends, man. It depends, and I'm giving a preview of the next video. I know there is a couple of people in the comment section that will attack me anyway in that video. Yeah. So anyway, I'm just going to say that it's not just that. It depends where you're coming from. I mean, a lot of the guys that come in are of the older generation, let's say, have gone through their fair deal of things, and they're just trying to find peace, right? Maybe talk about what happened to them. It's a therapeutic process, right? Younger guys, for the other on the other end of the scale, they've come to realizations that other people came through. It was a lot easier to get over the other people's problems rather than their own problems. I didn't really have a lot of problems myself. So for those guys, they want to find a happy medium in which they can live their lives and enjoy their lives for the, you know, for the length of time. So maybe their happy medium does not necessarily agree with the happy medium that some of the aolder guys may find. And it is something to keep in mind, that there is that distinct almost separation. Maybe ageism. Yeah, let's be ageists as well if we want to talk about that.
But that's good. That's a good thing, because the reason why we're doing this is because we don't want to see those young men go through. So in a way, to hear, you know, it's good for us to hear them. They probably don't want to hear us old farts moaning about, miserable subjects. But it's good to see, you know, we need to see that those young men aren't going to go through the same experiences, or at least have the awareness and the information to protect themselves from it. So, you know, it's like mission accomplished, you know.
I think we've got the perfect panel to ask here. I mean, I just wanted to quickly ask, I mean, how have you guys found the community? Because Cyrus, he's just joined us. Joe, he's a veteran, and Nico and Messenger, they've been here like in between. I mean, if I can start with you, Cyrus, I mean, how have you found?
I was gonna say beauty before age, and I was gonna go first. No.
well, let's start with Cyrus, because he's I think he's the newest. I mean, how have you found the Mgtow community?
I've found it quite an open community, to be honest with you. I've not really experienced any problems with anyone that identifies as Mgtow. I think Messenger actually hit on a profoundly important point there, which is that in the old days, I'm harking back to the old days as an old guy myself, so back in the old days, young men oftentimes would go through certain rites of passage and would glean and gain wisdom from the older generations. And so they were oftentimes equipped with the necessary tools, historically, that enable them to understand themselves. Sometimes they would gain this from religion. Sometimes they would gain this from spirituality. Other times it was a studying of psychology, psychiatry, the sciences. And through these various means, men were able to use what they had learned within their own lives. And within the current paradigm, young men don't have that. So what they're finding is this is why I think that young men are gravitating towards Mgtow, is because the older generations within Mgtow are providing them with not only their life experiences, but also certain wisdoms they can use, hopefully, to recenter themselves in this chaotic world.
Yeah, it's almost like the replacement for the male role model. You know, the way the male role model isn't respected anymore. There's loads of male voices, experienced voices, people who want to help and give advice, and they, you know, a lot of young men might not have had that.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Because we've got our choice. I mean, the Mgtow community, it's all about sharing advice and disseminating knowledge, and you know, if this is what you've come for, you've got your choice. There's like thousands of channels and all different point of views and all different perspective and backgrounds. I think it's a wonderful, and I think that's maybe one of the biggest attraction to Mgtow. I think that's what makes a lot of people stay, and that's what makes a lot of people stick around.
Yeah. We take the red pill, and sometimes we forget what the red pill we took was, or we stop taking that same pill. The stories are a red pill. You took it, you got your benefits, your health benefits, you know that. Never forget that story. Never forget that red pill, because if you do, it's going to lead you back into making that same mistake.
Joe's got a very good point there.
It's like a mental health case that found the pill that helped him manage in life, and then he forgets that pills that he was taking helped him manage in life, and he's so happy he stops taking them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like dropping your guard. I can see what you mean, because you know, people say now you're over it. You think, over what? I haven't forgotten.
Yeah.
You know, I need to keep reminding myself of the potential risks and potential worst case scenarios of any behaviors any past behaviors I try and adopt, thinking it's safe to come out again. You know, you've always got that. So yeah, you can't relax and, you know, think it's okay to come out again, because it's not going to be, not in my lifetime anyway. So I mean, people have been saying to me, you know, you can move on, you can do that. Move on to what? Move on to what? This is it. I'm a single man. I'm going to stay single. I'm going to focus on my daughter until she's older, and then by then, I mean, what do I want to move on to apart from just being happy on my own? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the lessons of the past are well learned, and you know, I'll never forget to take the red pill.
It's different.
Yeah, it isn't at all like that for me. I mean, my red pill. I mean, red pill. Do you even call it that? A red pill moment. I haven't had a horrible red pill moment. I've had a relationship that didn't really work very well. I mean, okay, I've had women that pulled knives on me and shit like that, but you know, that's normal. I didn't even think that was anything. Until now, I don't think that was anything. I haven't really had really horrible moments.
But that's good. This is the fruit of Mgtow. If we can save guys, if we can stop guys from going down that dark route and losing their sanity, or doing something tragic, or you know, destroying their lives, or getting their lives destroyed by other people, I mean, this is the fruit of Mgtow. Surely this is the goal. This is the end game for Mgtow.
Yeah, when I think about that red pill moment, you know, it's like I'm splitting my red pill with you, and I'm giving you a little bit of mine when I share my story, and I'm hoping that you take that with you and remember it all the time.
Yeah.
But there's the thing now. I mean, we've all seen those channels that say take your take your daily dose of red pill.
Oh, that guy.
I
don't think that's a red pill. But anyway.
I really like how I slay Pretty Lies, how he says it. He's a class. He's a class channel. Nobody knows about him, but
it's one red pill a day keeps the divorce lawyers away.
But the thing is, some people that's going to be too much, isn't it? I mean, they're not going to be able to swallow like a daily dose of red pill. I mean, for some people, it's they're like Mgtow light. I think, what's his name? Bitter Pill has coined that term, Mgtow plus, and there's others that are going to be Mgtow light.
What the fuck is plus and light?
Do you not know, Nico? He called you out.
Oh yeah, I'm the Mgtow plus, aren't I?
You are Mgtow plus, brother.
Plus
I still don't get that. Yeah, what is it?
It means you're too hardcore for him. Stop it with the Mgtow stuff.
I'm hardcore? What the fuck is happening? If I'm hardcore, I don't know what the hell the rest of the stuff is.
Yeah,
it's just, I don't know how to think about this thing, really. I just think that a lot of us have a solid basis of understanding. Many of us. I need to correct myself from making that mistake all the time. So many of us have a solid understanding of what being Mgtow is. We disagree on a lot of minor points here and there, and many of us disagree on how to move forward. And I think the reason why we disagree on moving forward is because we don't really understand each other's point of view. We haven't gone through the same experiences. We haven't all gone through the ringer. We haven't all experienced the same things. And, you know, it's a testament to Mgtow that the message is so widespread that it can encompass all men from all ages. I mean, I remember the video that I saw yesterday. I think it was Messenger that shared it. That guy in his 60s, man. And he was sitting there laughing.
Yeah.
He didn't even know all of the terms, but he was enjoying himself, you know? He was having fun with the content and understood exactly where we were coming from.
Yeah, he said something profound.
Yeah, that is the pure power of Mgtow. And go to Traversable.
Yeah, he said something profound. He said other men were I found out that other men were thinking like I was, and I wasn't alone. Hey, Gomez.
Yeah, man. Hey. Why did you say howdy, man?
I like saying howdy.
Howdy.
Yeah. I want to be a cowboy.
Yeah.
I like the chaps. Sorry, I'm late. What's going on? Have you addressed the BBC thing yet, or is that to come?
Do we have more people now? Okay, 23 people watching. All of you 23 fuckers, I'm going to be having a chat with CS Mgtow about this, and Barbarossa will be there. It will either be on my channel, Barbarossa's channel, on CS Mgtow's channel. So, you know, subscribe to all of them. And I'll share the link in a bit. I'm presuming it will be in the next hour or so, and then we'll reconvene for that. We'll explain in more detail what exactly happened, I think, and what exactly is going on right now, because we've just been gathering information. I mean, I addressed it briefly as to what happened. That we didn't really go into too much depth. To anyone listening, just fucking don't go and interview for those people. Just really don't. Nothing is going to get achieved. And if they wanted to talk to anyone, you know, that spoke any sense, they would have sent messages to Barbarossa, they would have sent messages to Stardust, they would have sent messages to Spetsnaz, they would have sent messages to people that have been around, right? And they haven't done any of that.
Mm-hmm. Can I just say preemptively, I think people should always be cautious when dealing with any state media. Because of the fact that, I mean, if we look at the BBC as an organisation, it is corrupt to the core. And the number of scandals they've been involved in is not remotely funny. And the fact that they were involved in these cover-ups of actual crimes, I think, is a profound indicator of their ethos as an organisation. So I think it behooves us generally just to be aware of how the media functions and what their primary goals are, which are not in the interests of Mgtow.
Yeah, well, I was extremely suspicious about this, and I mean extremely suspicious. So, thankfully, there is a program called Pamela right? It has a beautiful name. Reminds me of some wanking sessions when I was younger. That program records Skype conversations if you want to have a Skype conversation. So when we were discussing with CS Mgtow about this documentary, he told me, look, you know, I know you're suspicious. If you want, we can contact the BBC producers, or maybe I suggested that. So he contacted them via Skype, and I recorded the conversation. They flat out refused everything that they're planning to do, right? So, but yeah, I had that as a backup in case I go there. You know, if we didn't uncover what we ended up uncovering, in case I went there and you know, they used this against me in whatever shape or form, so that I can at least make some money out of this. Sue them as a result. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, well, in that conversation, I asked them if they were planning to associate us with extremist elements. They flat out refused. But I mean, they wanted to record our conversations in that meeting, and I guess they wanted to see kind of like the excitement that may take place within Mgtow. You know, when people are angry and they shout and they call people names and all that, which I believe should be a private matter for any effect. So, yeah, I don't think they have good intentions, and I've spoken to people, including Mgtow.com, about this, and he's also very suspicious because they were in electronic communications with them. So, and some things happened to the site. So, yeah. There is a lot of suspicion that's going around. I don't think they're planning to portray us in any positive light.
Well, I don't think they would portray us in any positive light in any case.
I didn't care about the positive light. I wanted fairness, and that's not what they're planning to do.
Well, again, you have to, again, you did, I mean, thankfully, keep in mind the fact that these television stations, the way that they are corporatized or owned, either state-controlled or via corporations, their primary motivation is to rely upon sound bites and stereotypes in order to convey a particular narrative. So they will stick to their guns. I mean, I'll give you a brief example of this. A person can say something. Let's look in the realm of politics, for example. A person could say virtually anything, and they will take the most negative sounding soundbite and put that out there along with a headline which may or may not in fact be true. They've been doing this for years, so that is what they ultimately would do with any group that they perceive as a threat to the status quo. So I can't see them ever being fair, whether it's the BBC, whether it's you know, any other station. You'd find that, I think.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I agree with you, and it's why I was skeptical. That my main worry was if they were planning to do the documentary, who would be in the documentary? You see what I mean? Yeah. It's a double-edged sword. Because we don't have a unified face, no one's going to speak to a specific individual. If they're just gonna pick a Mgtow or someone that puts Mgtow label in whatever, right? Anything is Mgtow. I can give them an interview with Mgtow crisps. I mean, that's what they plan to do. I mean, and from what I understand, they're just picking random people and interviewing them as Mgtow representatives.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work because you've seen Mike Buchanan. He's got all the logic in the world. He's got all the information. He stands up.
Yeah, Mike Buchanan disassociated from the documentary because he realized what they were trying to do. But they have a lot of filming that they're going to use.
But look at him, you know, he comes across as a reasonable, intelligent, logical man, and they still look at him like he's just come down from another planet with all these strange ideas. They see him as a radical, as a woman hater. We don't stand a chance. Even the most moderate Mgtow, with really no extreme views and no serious issues from his past, they still won't get to grips with what he's saying about gynocentrism, misandry. That it will just go over their heads, and they'll just say, and you know what they always say, you've seen all these interviews, they say, were you hurt by a woman in the past? And then they start to take him down, and start to shame him and do all that business.
They can fucking interview me on that. I hurt more women than I've been hurt. It doesn't really bother me. But that wasn't a question that I was scared. There wasn't a single question that I was scared to answer. But the editing, whatever the editing might be, is going to be editing that they will do. You have no power on what they do with their recordings, and that's the truth.
Yeah, I think there's also a danger that they would portray Mgtow as a political movement of some sort, which is, I think, the really insidious element in this. Because Mgtow is not a political movement. We're a group of men who have understood certain realities and are coming to terms with those, and at the same time we're trying to employ our reason and logic to extrapolate our place in the world. So that is not remotely political. It's apolitical. In fact, if you look at the Mgtow across the board, we subscribe to different political ideologies, possibly, if we believe in political ideologies, or we may have different outlooks on life, you could get somebody who's a Republican, for example, in their political belief system. You could get somebody who's a Democrat in their political belief system, and both might self-identify as Mgtow. So there's nothing political about it.
Yeah, it goes right across the spectrum. I know Mayor had this right. The Mayor of Mgtow saw this coming. I know a lot of people did, but he laid down some groundwork, and part of the reason for the outreach project was to defend Mgtow when it was attacked by the media, and say, well, hang on a minute, we're a group of philanthropists, we're helping the homeless. They don't need to know, and the media probably won't know, that 90% of the homeless are men, and we've chosen to help the homeless specifically for that reason. But we can say, why are you attacking a group of philanthropists who help the homeless? This is what we do. We stand for men's rights, to support men, and we're charitable. So that was the whole point of it. So we've got a defense, at least when we're attacked. And we've got some proof to back it up, that the videos are there and the fundraising's been done and that sort of stuff. So we knew we were going to get seen in a bad light. And if they get their hands on an interview, I did say, if anyone was to be interviewed, write it down, memorize it, and don't deviate from that. Stick to a core message. It has to be plain, simple truth that can't be manipulated or edited to look bad, and just stick to that. But these people will interrogate you. They'll ask questions, and you have to answer them. And the next thing you know, they'll have all this material that they can edit and make us look bad. And we're never going to look good. We're always going to be underground because we are politically incorrect. Not that we're political, but we go against the mainstream, and they don't like it, and they reject that message. Whenever we challenge what they perceive to be reality with what we know to be truth, they become defensive. They back themselves into a corner, and they get their claws out because it hurts. Because we're talking about their lives. We're saying, you're living a life that is bad, and they accept some of that truth, and they know it's true, and it's hard to swallow because we're giving them a red pill. And they reject it, and they attack us, and I think they're always going to do that unless they're ready for that red pill. And the man that's ready for the red pill, he'll take it. But if you go and tell 100 men and 95 of them aren't ready for the red pill, you'll get told to fuck off 95 times. Because you're talking about their families and their wives. You're doing this wrong. You shouldn't be married. You shouldn't be living with that woman. They hate it. They reject the message, and makes us look like bitter and twisted woman haters, really.
Yeah, it's I think one of the things that's in play in this situation with the BBC, for example, is that we, because we're a relatively new idea, I would say, we're not necessarily fully schooled in how to interact with the media and the media outlets. And the other day I was talking about the education system. And I think that there's an important emphasis to be made on that, because uh, young men are not taught how to be good communicators under this education system. This is why the focus is constantly put on young girls that are educated in schools and so forth. And you find that the young boys that are going through the schooling system sometimes don't perform as well in certain areas, and those areas tend to be where you deal with communication. Uh, Women perhaps might naturally have a certain amount of one-upmanship in that area, but because we're not taught these things as men, what tends to happen is they know full well that this is the case, so they will try and catch a man in a particular instance where he is like a deer in the headlights, so to speak, where he doesn't know what to say when something's asked of him, or yeah.
Exactly. It's almost as if we've got to the point now where it's a very dangerous thing for someone to approach the media off their own back. I mean, luckily it was CS and Nico, and they knew what they were doing, and they had said to people, what do you think about this? You know, what's your opinion? And they were well aware of what they may be getting into, so they sort of already had one foot out the door. And as soon as they smelt a rat, you know, they said, no, fuck this, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And should it be the case now that agreed within Mgtow that nobody approaches the media, and if the media approach Mgtow, they speak to certain individuals who are well versed and capable of dealing with that line of questioning, and they won't be caught out or you know made to say something that's going to make everybody look bad. You know, it just seems to me that we need spokespeople who are you know capable of doing it.
Well, I'm 100%.
The if you think about it, yeah, well, media trained or whatever, there's a lot of people that make videos and are quite vocal and have had discussions with people, you know, on Hangouts, whatever. We have people that could potentially be good enough to be media trained, but BBC did not approach these people. The BBC doesn't want these people to talk. They don't want people that can potentially see flaws in their arguments and throw them back the question. They don't want people like that. They want to talk to people that, you know, participate, maybe slightly vocal in forums, maybe saying to, you know, a few more fucks than normal, you know, and that's what they want. I mean, that's exactly what they're trying to do.
They want someone to demonize. They want someone to come on to television and for everyone to hate. They want a hate figure. They want like a scapegoat, and then normally that sort of person that comes on to we know what happens to that type of person. He comes on the television, he opens his mouth, he says one too many things, he ends up getting his details handed over to the police. And he ends up getting investigated, and then the BBC make an after message saying so and so was investigated by the police. Police made no charges. Seen it so many times.
Yeah. Because they have to. They have to. If they feel like someone's in danger, they have to investigate you. Do you see the problem with this? I think right now our anonymity is the most important tool that we have.
Yeah. Look at what danger could a Mgtow possibly be to society. He just wants to do his own thing, walk away. We're not rapists. We're not those. We're not. Most of us don't date. Most of us don't even look at women.
Yeah, but Kevin is saying that BBC will find a useful idiot, right? Yeah. I just looked at the comment section right now. Yeah, I have information that they have found at least 2 people to interview with them.
Yeah.
Right?
It's probably thorium.
No, it's not a content. We're not talking about a content producer. We're talking about people who participate in the community.
This is another problem, I'm afraid, gents, because it's a bit like saying you're an Arsenal supporter. Anyone can do that, even if you're not an Arsenal supporter, even if you're against them in every way, right? You can still do that. There's nothing stopping anyone.
They'll get Keith Chegwin. He'll become Mgtow and he'll say some shit. Everyone in trouble.
We need Keith Chegwin.
You need Keith Chegwin on board. He'll say anything for money. Anything for any amount of money. Keith Chegwin and that guy that did Family Fortunes. What's his name?
Oh, Les Dennis.
Les Dennis. Keith Chegwin, Les Dennis, Mgtow detractors, infiltrators. I can see it now.
So yeah, it's gonna be a shame, man. And it's from what I understand, it's going forward and it's happening. No matter what I do or no matter what I said, and I think we do it try to change their minds. It's not gonna work. So yeah, it is what it is.
They're just gonna find someone to act like a Mgtow, to mimic a Mgtow. I think Bernard Chapin said once, what if Hugo Schweizer is our elected official by the media? And that's what they're going to do, and I think that's what they've done to a small amount. We've seen those interviews with the guy that just wrote the book. I can't even remember the name of it now, and he was smallish and he didn't say the right things, and they cherry-picked him for a reason.
Yeah.
Well, can I ask a question to you guys? Now, this goes to any one of you brave enough to answer this question. Where do you want to see this community heading, or what change would you like to see in the community? Anyone want to take that one on? Anyone?
Yes.
Go for it, Nico.
Just go around the room on this one.
Okay. I'm starting Beauty Before Age.
Okay.
Please stay tuned for the next video that I will be uploading soon enough on my channel. We will be talking about the future of Mgtow. Okay, that's actually I am going to say what I think about this, just so that I don't just bullshit you guys. I think right now our direction should just be growth, cohesion. In the near future, if we can achieve enough growth, then we need to start promoting things that we're already promoting, but we need to take them into the real world. And the things that I'm thinking, and I do have a mind map so that I can cheat a bit, right? I said that we need to promote male issues and say what those issues are. We need to create male friendships between or amongst ourselves, if anything. Create a brotherhood of people that help each other and support each other, and a community where people can find sufficient information to support themselves if they want to go down that route. And I said more than anything, we need to promote this idea of androphilia, or androphilia being not fucking men, but kind of like the love towards the masculine in a way, liking other men for being men, liking their male attributes, liking masculinity, and revisiting our own masculinity and finding it again. I mean, that's my answer.
I like that one.
Okay. Me next. Can I go?
Please go, man.
Right. I think we should buy a working men's club.
I like that. I actually like the sound of that. Let's all go.
No, I think maybe the way I'd like to see Mgtow changing is more that you identify with an idea. The idea being that men can talk to one another, and in whatever forum that happens to be. And I particularly like that Mgtow.com has, like our best interests at heart, right? I think that's an excellent forum. It's a forum that is controlled, apolitically, without ideologies, say for Mgtow, if you want to make that argument. But it's a forum where we can meet, talk, voice, and yeah, I think the transition that I would like to see is that people start thinking of Mgtow as a concept that they engage with, right? That's like getting into an argument but still being friends afterwards, and doing it in a place where people aren't going to cherry pick, for easy wins.
Yeah, Mgtow.com. We like that guy. We've all met him, haven't we? I think everyone has met. I don't think it's except for Cyrus. Cyrus hasn't met the guy.
I'll buy him a beer when I see him.
Yeah, I like the guy. I like that guy. First time I spoke to him, he says, "Oh, I'll stay for an hour." We ended up talking for 8 hours. Yeah, Mgtow.com and Mgtow in betweener. Any of you guys want to check out that podcast? It's on my channel. 8 hours, guys. 8 hours of conversation.
8 hours. So where do you think this is going, Shining?
Oh, me? Well, I'm with Nico on this one, and partly I think we're all on the same page in that we want to see a lot more brotherhood. I mean, yeah, we have our differences, and we're not going to agree on everything, and some things we're going to fall out tooth and nail. You know, some things we're going to be ready to. And it always reminds me of I won't name the names, but those guys who threaten to fly all the way over to meet such so and so that they can fight, they can punch each other out. They disagree so much. But yeah, you know, guys, let's have a bit more compassion. You know, there's a bigger enemy than, you know, some of our religious conflicts or some of our you know, racial conflicts. You know, you know, as men, you're gonna get flushed down the toilet. You are literally a battery. You know, you're a battery for the government to plug and unplug and use and throw away. And you know, we are in some really deep shit. I mean, there's not many men that's gonna be free of the toilet that we're putting themselves in. You know, maybe the men, even the men that are really rich and powerful. I mean, every now and again you get like some big celebrity, you know, poor old Mike Tyson, Paul McCartney, Chris Rock. I think he's just been taken to the cleaners. Nobody's immune to the shit that's happening.
That's because everyone thinks they're special. They're idiots.
It's a big problem because if we look at Robin Williams, you know, the beloved actor and comedian, you know, the poor guy apparently committed suicide. I mean, at that age as well. I personally think he was killed, but you know, maybe I'm wrong, because at 60, I mean, at 63, you've already you know, reached rock bottom.
Actually, no, man, no. Come on. Depression targets men of all ages, but in the classical definition, in terms of risk factors, it's younger men and older men that have the highest risk for suicide.
Maybe, but
that's true on the stats. If you look at the stats, yeah, it's surprising, because I was surprised when I saw it. I thought, why are all these old men killing themselves? You know, it's supposed to be the main cause of death in men under 35, but and then you look at the other end of the scale, and pensioners are killing themselves. Maybe they're just given up, or
I think he killed himself because he woke up a little bit, didn't he? He's seen that how he was treated in his family, how he was just a provider. He's seen that the kids were spending money foolishly, and everything that he did was disintegrating, and he woke up. And he had a few statements before the end that he's starting to see this thing, and I don't think he could handle it. And boy, what's that like when you wake up when you're too old, when you get that red pill and it's just too hard to handle? And that's what pushed him over the.
It's almost a culture shock, to be honest. It's, you know, you grew up under this illusion. I mean, all of us have, but in some senses, because we were seeing the world around us change. I kind of mentioned this last time. We're seeing the world around us change, so we can kind of deal with that a little bit better, because we go, this is not necessarily how things should be in the world. So we see it disintegrating around us, and we can kind of go, okay, well, I know that the way that I'm looking at this, right, is a humanitarian way. It's the way in which men should approach other men. Society should view men not just as a commodity, but as valuable, inherently valuable human beings. And what happens is the older generations, they were told that was the case, and they were raised under the assumption that this was the case. And when they find that this current, as I say, this is a current paradigm shift in the last 50 to 100 years, you find that suddenly you're waking up in almost a completely different world, and you cannot handle that when you realize the only thing you've ever been is a tool, a commodity, something to be used and discarded, and those guys, again, because they've lived that lie most of their lives, can't handle it.
Yeah, this goes back to the question of what we see Mgtow becoming, and what I'd like to see is that someday in the general public that they talk about men's issues the same way that they talk about women's issues. They talk about men with the same light, with the same compassion, and we see boys making better decisions for that, and we see boys that are awake and you know they're conscious of the inherent risk of marriage. They're conscious of how females act, and that'll cost me $1. And we're they're conscious of these things. So when they hit that point where they realize them and totally internalize it, there's no shock to them.
Can I also say, I think there's I just want to add this, there's a perspective that has been brainwashed and ingrained into people from a young age, which is that is a solipsist's point of view, essentially, which is that only your viewpoint is correct and everybody else is irrelevant. And I think one of the reasons for this is because science is not being taught properly in schools. And you might wonder, what's the link between this and science? Well, if you consider, see, here's the great thing about great thinkers through history. They've always generally been men. And they've all come to this conclusion that we originated from the same elements that created this universe, that created life. No matter which way you slice that up, you find that we are all ultimately a part of each other. And when you realize this, a man recognizes then that his fellow man is worth just as much as he is, and that there is no need or reason to devalue him. But if you're not taught that in schools, if you're not taught these things, then what tends to happen is, again, it's more about what the man does in order to gain value, supposedly, through which he actually doesn't gain any value at all, except to be used.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed with that.
That's interesting though, because young boys and young boys at school now, they're taking away that competitive element. They're saying, you know, if they have, say, for instance, a sports day, no one's allowed to. Everyone gets a medal. No one's better than anyone. They do. They do.
All kids get
Seriously.
to play.
I know. It's funny, man.
And it's like you can't be seen to be a loser. You're as good as him, even though he beat you by a fucking mile. You know, they're trying to sort of level the playing field so everybody's, you know, nobody's better than anyone. I don't know what.
You can't get rewarded for being absolutely shit at something. That's positive reinforcement for being for being absolutely horrible.
But you can see that the reasoning is, I suppose, because if they come away with the impression that they're a loser, they may think, okay, I'm a loser right across the board, whereas they might be a maths genius. So you know, their confidence is completely.
What does that have to do with physical education or sports or whatever? I mean, for me, when I was growing up, it served me right. You know, whatever I was shit in, I was perfectly told. Well, I was told by my teachers, you know, you're really crap at running. You can't play basketball or shoot a ball for shit, right? So just focus on things that you're good at. That's what I did.
I agree with that, because if someone is misled to believe that they're good at something, they're going to waste a hell of a lot of time thinking they're going to be really good, when naturally they're not meant to do that. So
that's there's an absolute truth to what Messenger and Nico were saying there, is that it's an artificial construct that is placed upon men in order to create this myth that everybody is equal. Right. What I was talking about is not equality. I was just talking about the inherent value of human beings. But the notion of equality is a social construct. It was not it's not inherent in nature. It is not inherent in the laws of physics, because we have different permutations of various genetic gifts, if you like. Each man responds according to his gifts. So one man may be terrible at running, say for example, and I'm generalizing here, I realize this, but let us say for example, some of the best athletes that exist are actually men from African American heritage or purely African heritage, right? So they may have the upper hand genetically, possibly, in terms of capability and capacity to run. Whereas they may also have other gifts, such as having greatly developed minds, which a lot of them do. But if we look at the Japanese, for example, there's this stereotype, cultural stereotypes sometimes do have some seed of truth to them, in that there is sometimes an actual basis for the viewpoints some people form. So maybe the Japanese are remarkably gifted when it comes to designing, engineering, electronics, this kind of thing, and for a long time they were.
Yeah, you know, equal outcomes are they're so bad for men, because what if we got a great example of this in Cleveland, Matthew Delanova. If
That's the ice cream van.
I
love a 99.
Yeah. What if a man just told that what he is okay, and he never strives for nothing better, and the equal outcomes, he's like, okay, I'm happy with that. Well, what does this do to society? You can't excel.
You find that a lot of monks, Mgtow, don't you? It's like they don't want to do any better than they're doing already. Don't you find that amongst a lot of Mgtow? It's like, oh, you know, going my own way is just sitting, you know, sitting.
We can be better. That's a part of being a man, is identifying your faults and your these things that you're not as good at. And if I'm not a good boxer, I can go to the gym and become a good boxer.
Yeah.
But if I'm told that we're just going to give you a certificate of being a good boxer, that certificate of accomplishment, or merit, and I put that up on my wall and says, yes, I was a good boxer. I never achieved being a good boxer.
Yeah.
I think it's a natural reaction, isn't it? It's a natural reaction to finding out that you've been manipulated into doing a thing all of your life, and as soon as that red pill settles, you go, well, to hell with it, then I'm not doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
It takes a while to sort of go, well, you know, maybe I can do it, but I'll do it for me.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I think maybe that's what some Mgtow were criticised for. There was criticising for being too active. I think that was a hangout a while back. But I think the point, you know, constantly trying to improve yourself. I think most men can relate to that. You know, we all want to be healthier. We all want to be smarter. We want to be richer. You know, we want to be better off physically, mentally. We want to be in a better state, don't we? But I don't know. Some people are claiming, you know, Mgtow is not about that. Mgtow just being happy with the status, you know, with the status quo where you're at, and just finding contentment.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think what tends to happen when reality does hit a man is that automatically, because he's having, and this is a key thing, again, many things are not taught in schools as they should be, as we all know. Say, for example, philosophy. In ancient philosophy schools, they used to actually teach the notion of the trivium. To put it in a modern context, because my field is computer science, to put it basically, you've got an input, you've got the process, and you've got the output. So the information comes into a man's mind, then he has to process that information. That takes time, and he might be in a holding pattern while he's processing that information. And then he comes to the logical conclusions and the output in terms of what he can do with that information. But the processing is what takes the longest time, because you're having to analyze, dissect, arrange things in terms of priority. And a lot of this is how the human brain actually works as well. It's very similar to a computer in that regard. And so this is why I think a lot of Mgtow are just biding their time, taking their time in a holding pattern, not looking to overly self-improve, it's not because they won't eventually do that, it's because they're just taking all of this in.
Yeah.
You know, Stardust touched on this, and he's right for a lot of the men who don't look for relationships anymore. Most of man's motivation is reason to earn money or keep fit or dress well, you know, and everything that's involved with dressing well, going to buy clothes and take care of your appearance. Most of that was done to attract women, and when you remove women from the equation, he thinks, well, you know, I as long as I keep myself reasonably fit, I don't have to go to the gym as often. You know, they lose the reason to try, and I wouldn't say it's detrimental to a man, because you can exhaust yourself trying to please a woman. Everyone knows that. You know, once you do something, they want you to do something else, and it never ends. You know, you'll never make them happy. So maybe that's the reason for the not apathy, but just men take a little step back and they don't have to try as hard. And in the case of men with children, I mean, if you don't see your kids as often, you don't have to try as hard, because you're not a full-time dad, and that's a fact. You're not. So you know, you are a single dad most of the time. You're single, and you haven't got a woman around, and you can just sit and play games, or you can please yourself. You know, the incentives have been taken away. So then all you've got is, like Gomez says, all you've got then is to live for yourself, and it's hard for men to get their heads around that idea. I think, you know, it's a nice idea to say, okay, you know, I can go out for dinner on my own, or I can buy myself something new because I've always wanted it and I could never afford it before. But to actually do that, men think, really? Can I do this? Is this being selfish? It's it's a strange place to be in.
But it sounds like a bad thing, that. I mean, obviously, no, I absolutely agree. That is what's going on. Men take a step back. They don't have to exercise as much. They don't have to groom themselves as much. They don't have to spend as much money on appearing good, or they don't have to work as long hours. But it sounds quite bad, because surely one of the objectives to being alive is doing the best you can, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Try to be the best person you can be.
You've got to draw the line, because they tried to sell that to the Japanese man, didn't they, years ago, before the grass eaters. You know, they tried to say to a Japanese man, right, it used to be, you know, you would die on the battlefield, and you would, you know, if you disgraced yourself, you would have to commit seppuku and kill yourself, you know. And then they changed that, and they tried to brainwash these working Japanese men, and said, now it's honorable to work yourself to death. If you die of a heart attack in your office because you've been doing fucking God knows how many hours, that's honorable.
Yeah, it's about the male utility and the extraction of the male utility.
They rejected that because the women weren't worth it. But you know, that you've got to draw the line at doing well, because after a while it becomes detrimental, because you build up an excess of how much do you need. If you, it's very easy to keep yourself. I think it's just and also in terms of doing well. I mean, doing well at educating yourself, that takes time. So that's if you're working to accumulate wealth, monetary wealth, you're actually taking away from time you could expand your mind and learn and you know, do other stuff, or just experience things. That takes time. To take a few days out and go and visit a place, and all those sorts of things are a value of some value or worth, and make you a better person. So you're right, we're lucky, we've got that luxury. We can choose in which ways we want to improve ourselves, as long as we don't completely sit back and just you know, become defeatist. And
so would your advice to the Mgtow community be, try and find a happy medium? You know, find some leisure time, and you know, don't neglect your health, and don't neglect you know, your mental state.
Well, definitely, there's got to be a balance. Yeah, they've got, you know, people have to look after themselves, because one thing you learn when you live as a blue pill man, nobody takes care of your wants or needs. Nobody cares about you. You're there to be used up until you drop down, and then they'll find a replacement for you. So now you're a Mgtow. You look after yourself. You know, if you've got something you want to do or something you need, or if if you need a rest, you can do that. There's nobody saying, "Come on, there's no time to rest." You know, it's like Joe said the other day. He came home. He was ill. He'd had an asthma attack, and he was told to get back up and get back to work. You know, nobody cares about you. But as a Mgtow, you can say, "Well, that's not good for me, so I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do that. You know, I'll do what's best for me." And that's the luxury, I suppose.
I think this is why the health portion, and this will bring right into the health portion of this podcast, keeping yourself healthy, de-stressing, and then from there looking out and broaden your world and finding out there are other things that I'm not a utility in. Gomez just brought up a good point about volunteering. You can volunteer, you can do those things, you can go to school. And you're not a utility in that instance. You can go work out. You're not a utility in that instance, and it's about stopping people from using you in that sense, that utility sense. And there's a ton of things in Mgtow. Just keeping yourself healthy and de-stressing you can do, and you can still make some money for yourself and do it. And there's ways around these things. The first thing would do is not work for a woman. Never do that anymore. But like we said, it's hard to find those things. There's some happy mediums in our life where we can go out and volunteer for a few hours, and as long as they're not using me and I'm getting something out of it that's equal, I get that happy feeling of helping others. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I think that would be a wonderful thing if we could lift, because I think it's quite safe for me to say that we do find that amongst Mgtow. A lot of guys they do have an extreme apathy. They have, they're very, they've given up. They've taken on this lethargic lifestyle, and they're trying to find a reason to live. And how often, how often do we find that amongst these men? I mean, after they've, removed this urge, for sexual, for female validation. It's like trying to find a reason to live. But I mean, if we can give these men an uplift, like a new burst of life, like a goal, I think that would be a wonderful thing.
It's difficult for some of the younger guys though, because they've made a sacrifice. They're saying they're never going to experience, or they're trying to give up certain things that we've experienced, although it wasn't, it was disastrous and did a lot of damage. At least now we can say, okay, now we know. Now we haven't got that curiosity. That's gone. We can carry on, and we at least haven't got that nagging at us saying, you never had a child, or you never had a relationship, and all those good or bad memories to look back on. So some of these guys have got that that curiosity. I don't know if that's the right word, but they've made a big sacrifice. Right. They're limiting their experiences in life now by saying, I'm going to live as a Mgtow from a young age. I think that's quite difficult for them to do.
Yeah, they equate that most of the time with the sexual curiosity, and trying out, taking a few girls around the block, and no one's saying they can't do that. Once you've learned how to do that, and put in the risk factors and the factors in place, and you learn how to. No one's ever said that you can't do that. We say that because I'm done with that. It doesn't mean that they can't do it, and they can't take a few girls around the block, as long as they're conscious and the red pill, and they keep that red pill about them, and manage the safety risk for themselves. But like we often say, the eventual on that is you're going to lose interest with that too, and you're still going to have to find the man cave somewhere.
Yeah. I think you guys have hit on some excellent points there. Part of it is actually also, again, I'm going back to the way that kids are raised these days, but I think part of that curiosity maybe comes from the fact that society tells young men of this dynamic which must exist. Say, for example, when you're raised inside a religious home, as an example, you're told about this divine bond, as it were, between man and woman. And so you've got that programming in your subconscious as a young man. And even if you jettison everything from your conscious mind out of that, and you choose a life which is ultimately, I think, healthier in some ways and prevents disasters, that curiosity is still going to remain. Because it's been ingrained at a very early age, and if it's not religion, it'll be Disney movies or some fucking thing, you know. It'll be something like that that continues that motivation and curiosity.
Yeah, we see this with the blue pill world, and I see this a whole lot. It's just an example. Like I'm going through this with my youngest son now. He turned 18. He's going to move out of the house. He's leaving the house. He's going to get an apartment because he's told that's what he's supposed to do. And I said, no, that's do what's easier for you. Do what's if staying at your mother's house there is good for you and helping out with the family situation and being there for everybody and involving yourself with the family is good. Don't let all these people tell you that that this is what you got to do. Move out of the house and you go be that man, that blue pill, and because that leads down the road of I need a woman because I'm lonely and I have to have this and I do all those things in a queuing situation. I don't want boys to get into that queuing line where it's automatically go to work, get a job, get your apartment, get a girl, get married, and then end up like us. Stay out of that line. But caring about your family, caring about your community, and caring about people around you, that's where the joy is going to come.
Most definitely. Most definitely. I couldn't agree with you more. It's how willing are we as adults in this society to explain these things to kids? To say it's okay to be who you are. You don't have to live up to any expectations. This is I think this is again partly to do with the fact that we've become so detached as a species from the realities of life. We live in these concrete jungles, right? And as Messenger was saying, people sometimes don't even take the time to go out there and appreciate nature, right? Because they don't, they did a survey in the UK here a couple of years ago. I think they do them every so often, where they were asking kids, where does your meat come from? Like if you're having steak, where does that come from? And they would say the supermarket, right?
Yeah.
And you think this is what it's come down to is kids are being taught a pack full of lies, basically, about the world around them, how it actually operates. They don't see that there are basic fundamental necessities of life anymore. Everything's just this is the way it should be. Why? Because it's tradition. And you know what I say? Fuck tradition.
Yeah.
Literally. Fuck tradition.
Fuck tradition.
Well, it's no surprise that people find Mgtow so difficult, particularly the younger guys. We were saying earlier, people come and go. We see like channels rising and disappearing. It's not only this. Finding that reason, that urge, that goal of life, but it's also a biological need as well. These guys are fighting this biological need to reproduce, a biological need to be part of a woman's life. I think I'm not surprised that guys they split away. Some of them coming back.
Well, yeah, I would completely agree with that, Shining. You're totally bang on the money there. It's fine and dandy for us older guys to say, well, these are the conclusions we came to and so on and so forth, but at their ages we were fighting exactly the same biological urges. And biology does have a massive part to play in these things. We are naturally designed to procreate, which is why we're born with sets of genitals in order to reproduce. But the question for a species at a certain point becomes, and again, this is to do with education, at what stage is it either logical or dangerous to pursue those biological urges? You know, because we have higher functioning brains, we don't have to be like the praying mantis species, for example.
Who gets eaten by his, or even the spider. The spider, male spiders get eaten too. It's
Yeah.
We do get eaten, don't we?
Yeah, we basically get eaten too.
Yeah.
Well, Messenger, he said it really nicely, didn't you, brother? You said there's something broken in men. You know, the men's biological urge to reproduce. It's destroying you. It's ruining you as a human being. And you know, the example of the praying mantis. Even though we don't,
It makes a man become sort of sacrificial. You know, it's almost to that end. And it's like Osiris says, you know, it's just the false expectations that men are given, and they buy into this. They buy into it, and they think, you know, if I do this, then I'm going to get, you know, I'm going to get a woman, and she's going to, you know, I'm going to get more sex, and they don't realize that all the expectations are false. And it's not until it's too late that they realize that it's almost the opposite of what they've been promised. So you know, the urge is that strong. They can't resist the urge because it is that strong. And if I was 20 years younger, I mean, I wouldn't be able to resist the urge because I would fuck anything that moved, to put it plainly. And it got me in a lot of trouble when I say to young men now, I understand where you're coming from because, you know, I was exactly the same. But if I was you, I wouldn't invest your time or any of your identity in a woman, because when she goes, she'll take a piece of you, and all that time and money, you'll never get that back. So I just say to them, go and sleep with a prostitute. You know, you can get exactly what you want, and when you're done, you pay your money. It's going to be a lot cheaper in the long run, and then you can walk out and just get on with your day. That's if all you want is sex, they're selling it, you pay for it. Fair exchange, and just go about your business, because the risks of even getting involved with women, just even like friends with benefits. I mean, don't tell me a man is not going to get, and it's not even the women. I believe it's the men who get emotionally invested in a woman, even if they've got an agreement that it's purely sexual. You know, the man's going to want more. He's going to want more time with her. If she say they've got an agreement that it's an open relationship. If she spends more time with another man than him, he's going to say, "Why? Has he got a bigger dick? You know, is he a better fuck than me?" And it's going to hurt his pride. And then he's going to start, you know, puffing his chest out and competing for the woman. So, you know, it's never clear cut. So, yeah, I would just say, you know, if all a man wants from a woman is sex, go and fucking pay for it and be done. You know, it sounds harsh and it sounds clinical, but that's the safest way to do it. And these prostitutes are cleaner than the women on the street, the women in the clubs. You know, the women you'll find. You don't know if she's just slept with a man the night before. It's a lottery. So yeah, difficult, very difficult.
How would you address the moral difficulty of that though? Because some guys are going to find that, because obviously some guys are going to find a moral problem with that, aren't they?
Yeah, they don't like the idea of it.
Yeah.
And
It's like a red pill, shining.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest now. I've slept with a lot of fucking prostitutes, like many men. I've slept with fucking a lot of prostitutes, probably too many. I wish I had all that money back.
Oh.
And it can be degrading, disappointing, and a waste of money and a waste of time. Or it can be really good. But the same could be said for women. Women you meet in a club, or women you have a relationship with. You know, if you don't click, you don't click, and you don't know until you get into bed with a woman. So I would say there's no difference between taking a woman home from a club and no difference to paying for it, because apart from the fact that a prostitute will be cheaper in the long run, it's just a female body that you're going to stick your dick in. Let's be honest. But yeah, the ethics and the morality of it, I don't know. I don't know. It's the oldest profession in the world. So
Yeah, I mean, some guys they're even worse. They go to they'll go to their dog, the dirty bastards.
oh god,
Shit, man. Who are you messing with?
Let's give him a biscuit.
Where's Nico gone? Nico was telling me about his friend that was going to his dog, and he's a hole's a hole. We'll go use the hole in the wall then.
Oh, just put some Marmite on his bollocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they reckon the old ladies do that, don't they? Put peanut butter on their bits.
Shit.
Just get the little lap dogs to lick it off.
Yeah, the two people. Isn't it not illegal? I think a guy didn't a guy just get a prison sentence for having sex with his crocodile?
I know a man got caught, I think he was on a milk crate trying to fuck a goat or something, and a train went past. So all the passengers got their phones out and caught him in the act. Yeah, he was trying to shag a goat or a horse or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, once you go down that slippery slope, there's no pulling back, is there?
The urge was never that strong in me.
Yeah.
Well, at least the goat will still love you in the morning.
He won't call the police for false allegation.
He'll probably make a decent sandwich as well.
Shit! Lamb sandwich. That is harsh. That is harsh.
Oh man.
Yeah. Have we gone off topic?
So with that said, Mgtow Health. What do you guys do for your health?
Yeah. Well, I know. Cyrus, he has a nice healthy breakfast. We know that.
Oh yeah. The way I look at it, you've got to be careful about what you put into your body. You know. Just try and live clean, eat healthy. Don't do any drugs that will essentially bring you down, like heroin or morphine. Stay away from those. Cocaine, snorting cocaine off a Brazilian prostitute's arse is perfectly fine. But yeah, just everything else kind of just live a clean life. I try and run when I can. So I go out for a morning jog for about half an hour, typically either every day or every couple of days when I get the time. I think that's the way to go. You don't need to overdo it, and if you want, you can, but that's the way I see it. Vitamins are important too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and also one wee extra thing I would add: keep a healthy supply of Quaaludes.
Quaaludes, what are that?
Well, those are oh god, what are they? I forgot what they were. I can remember the number 714s.
They're animal tranquilizers in
Animal
essence.
tranquilizers, yes. Oh yeah, drugs are bad. I say this once in a while on my videos that I'm not a big proponent of smoking pot or putting any kind of drug in your body. Matter of fact, I'm harshly against it because I was raised in the 60s. I've seen what happened. I've seen the morons. I've seen the retards and what it does to their bodies and what it does to their minds. And I try to tell young kids about that, don't smoke that pot because it just makes you stupid. Because I've seen it. I lived through it. I lived in a commune when I was young. I lived with the hippie parents, and they did really, really, really outstandingly stupid things. And I always equated it to, smoking pot. But it's getting to the point in society where everything's off. Everything's no limits. The limits are being taken away little by little, and you can go out and smoke pot if you want now. And You can investigate those things, and colleges are about investigating, sex and drugs and beer and alcohol, but moderation, would be recommended at that point.
Yeah, for sure, for
Mm.
sure.
Moderation is totally the key. You can do drugs, but the real question you have to ask yourself if you're doing it more than once or twice a week or too regularly, essentially, is, am I wasting my money on this? Am I enjoying this more than life? And is it more important to me that I do this than anything else? And if the answer to any of those questions is yes, then maybe it's time to put it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are some men who are still using drink and drugs to cope. I think maybe once they sort of level out, they'll at least cut down. I mean, my experience of being in relationships, that's when I drank the most, because I didn't want to go home. It was fucking miserable there, so I just think, oh God, go to the pub a couple of hours after work. The next thing you know, you're spending hundreds of pounds and hours every week, and you find out you've been months, and you think, fuck, I've had a drink every single day for months, and I just don't drink anymore. The last time I had a beer, actually, was that time when Nico rang me and said, right, hang out now. And I think I was in the bath, and I said, well, I'm in the fucking bath, I can't have a hangout now, and he said, no, let's do this now. I said, right, give me 15 minutes, and I knew it was going to be a tough one. It was quite a personal conversation, so I thought, oh fuck it, there's 3 cans of beer in the fridge, and that's the last time I had a beer, and it was weeks ago, and I think I only had like 3 cans, and I was pissed and fell asleep as I usually do. But I just think the stress of relationships and the pressure of having to earn money and work yourself like a dog is often the catalyst for men looking for some sort of escape or medication to relieve all the stress. So yeah, drink for me was something I did in relationships, but Mgtow is certainly better. I would rather sit at home and make a video than go to the pub and listen to my friends tell me all the problems they've got with their fucking girlfriends and wives. I can't relate to it anymore. It bores me. So
for a lot of Mgtow guys, they seem to have an issue with loneliness, because for a while it's okay. I mean, for a while, maybe days or weeks or even months not hearing anybody's voice outside of work or outside of what's absolutely necessary. You even forget what your own voice sounds like. For some people, the loneliness seems to get to them. I mean, for these people, I would suggest go and interact a bit more with the Mgtow guys. Go and comment on their videos. Go and go on the hangouts. Go and send them messages if you don't want to get too personal. I don't think that there is a need to be lonely. I mean, we've got, I think the world population's never been as big as it is now, and with all the open communications that are out there, go get on. If you don't have internet home, go on the internet cafe. Book yourself in for an hour. Is it £1 in my city? £1 for an hour, and go and go on the Mgtow forums.
Because we are social animals, we need human interaction. If we don't have that, we will just lose touch with reality. You need to speak to people and react with people. But there's got to be that distinction between being alone and being lonely. Is 2 different things. If you're lonely, it implies that there's something missing. If you just can't cope with being alone, then you need to really sort of embrace that and say, okay, I'm not used to this, but I'm alone in my own company. I'm with myself. I need to get to know myself. If you can't stand to be alone as opposed to being lonely, if you can't stand to be alone, you've got a problem. Because as Mgtow, we are going to be alone for a lot of the time, and that's the only time you can become more self-aware. When you speak to yourself, You haven't got that luxury when you're in relationships or surrounded by people, because they always want you to do something or say something or think something. They're always in your head. But when you're alone, you can do all those things that you couldn't do before. You can read those books, you can do that study, which takes time and concentration. And to concentrate, I mean, to sit and deliberate over something is necessary. And a lot of people don't have that luxury. We've got that, we can sit and contemplate, and understand things more deeply, think more, study more, read more. We're lucky in that respect. So, embracing alone time is good, and you can heal yourself, and you can work things out for yourself. So yeah, I think there's got to be a distinction between being lonely and being alone. But
do you think it's to do possibly with a person's upbringing? Because some people, they just can't do it. It's like some people, they'll literally betray their beliefs just to belong to a group, to be socially accepted, to be in the in crowd. They'll do things they would never think about doing just to be popular. So
yeah, if they've got that need, to be surrounded by people, if those people don't accept them or don't include them or exclude them, or reject them even, then that person's going to feel even more alone if they're surrounded by people.
That's very true. Yeah.
They're going to be isolated there. So it's sort of swings and roundabouts, really. Yeah, it could be their undoing if they crave company that much, and they are dependent on people being around them. Then that again is a weakness. They need to be able to kick that habit, that dependency on company, to be able to be comfortable to be alone. So there's that. Again, it's a balance, because it's detrimental to a person to not have human interaction. It's damaging. But yeah, I come from a I'm the youngest of 6, and I'm used to brothers and sisters running around and fighting, and voices everywhere, and dogs and parents, and I'm quite happy to be alone. I prefer to be alone, but that's just me. So yeah, it's an individual thing, I think.
well, I know, Osiris, you've got it down to a T.
Being lonely?
No, dealing with being solitary.
Oh yeah. It's I think there is a natural link between being alone and loneliness. This is a natural state, not to be happy when you are alone, generally with yourself. But it takes a tremendous amount of self-discipline, and a vast amount of knowledge of self to be comfortable, as Messenger rightly said, with who you are. If you're not happy with certain aspects of yourself, you're not going to be happy alone. It's literally that simple. So you've got to figure that out. For each person has to figure it out for themselves, regardless of who they are. But through doing that, through gaining that sense of self-knowledge, it liberates you, because you then become capable of understanding that what you are doing in that solitary time is you're blocking out the extra voices that are constantly around you. And this is almost a very Buddhist philosophy in essence, is to listen to your just be one with who you are within. And you can do that through meditation, so it can be achieved through meditative relaxation. You can do that through reading and taking in information, and then taking your time, as I say, to process things. So there isn't a quick solution if you do feel lonely, right? If you're a lonely person, there's no magic silver bullet to alleviate that. you have to, if you're in that position initially as a Mgtow, then I agree with what Shining Light said. You have to find other people that are of a like mind in order to interact socially with them, which makes it easier. If you like, it's kind of like methadone to an extent, in that if you're coming off heroin, you need something else just to kind of get you into that area of comfort with yourself at the end of the day.
Well, I know Gomez has got an interesting view on this. Before, I know Gomez, he wants to go off and listen to Baba.
No, I want to stay here. I'll catch up with the VOD. We do need to honour the promise we made to Nico, anyone listening, after we've been talking about how we're okay with being lonely. Now we'd like to invite you to leave and go and check out Barbarosa's channel, where Nico and CS Mgtow are going to be talking about BBC.
You've turned into a Dalek, Gomez.
Oh no.
Yeah. We're not going to be able to hear your astute advice, because I know he's got a really sound philosophy to coping with solitude. That's a pity.
Okay, did any of what I said come out?
No, please repeat.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I was saying we should honour the promise we made to Nico, that is to tell anyone listeners, if you're interested in catching up with Barbarosa, CS Mgtow, and Nico Chosky over on Barbar's channel. They're going to be talking about the BBC documentary. Are we calling it a fiasco yet? We'll catch up with the VODs and I guess carry on here for a while. But yeah, after talking about loneliness, I suppose we should embrace the fact that you may all leave en masse. I'm okay with it, if you're okay with it.
I don't think Barbarosa needs us. A guy, I think he's on 21,000 subs. I don't think he needs us to advertise his channel. I think he should be advertising this podcast.
Nico wants us to. No, he has 32 people watching. Yeah. Where's the backing?
He should be saying, guys, go over to Traversable Joe's channel and check out that fantastic. I've only got 3 here. He's got five over there, so you can watch mine later. Yeah, but go on, Gomez. Tell us how you deal with separation and with with being in solitude.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I in a way feel that justifying your existence as a living organism is pretty much the way to think about it. If you happen to be alone and that is a problem, then it means that you aren't justified in your sort of existence alone. And that business about being alone whilst in public and so on and so forth, alone in a crowd. I think it really sort of speaks to a problem of self-esteem at some level. Now, look, I've struggled with this. I'm not going to admit to know everything about this at all, not at all. But I've really found it helpful to challenge myself to go out into the, to just go for a walk. Like I went for a walk earlier on for about 2 hours. I just walked all the way around the town. I stopped and chatted to some random stranger with a dog, because the dog was giving me evils. So right. I just stopped and chatted to people from around the town, just shooting the shit, or people I didn't know, just because I wanted to justify my existence to myself. And other neurotic advice available at my channel.
No, that's actually pretty good, don't you think, guys? I told you he had an interesting a point of view on solitude.
But it's similar to the competition thing. Like, I think there is a problem, as Messenger and Osiris have mentioned, that schools are pushing the idea that competition is somehow toxic. Now, it's not toxic. It shouldn't be all either. I think it's more a case of that we're just sort of out of touch with the reality that we're animals that need to compete with each other to justify being alive, or otherwise you're inviting nihilism, right? I mean, what's the point in doing exercise if nobody's there to be challenged by the improvements you've made? Or
I also thought, on the flip side of that, that it's also not a weakness, but it can be a dependency in a person to always look for validation for everything they do. So you don't always have to have someone present to appreciate what you do or share what you do or encourage you or praise you for an achievement. You can just say, I did that. No one witnessed it. No one experienced it. Only me. And you see, it's like these people who always have to take a picture of something. And I think, you're here, and all you're doing is looking through the lens of a camera or looking at your phone, and they never experienced it. And I think you're not going to have a memory. You're going to have a picture. You know, why do you have to take pictures of everything? Just be there, alone, if necessary, and just experience it and take that away with you. And you know, if no one else is there, it doesn't matter. You know,
there's something in that. There's definitely something, because I mean, when I first got my phone, which took pictures, I was taking as many pictures as possible. And when I was looking through the pictures, I was remembering that I wasn't enjoying things as much as I used to. And then I started just, putting my phone down and just just living in the moment more. And
well,
I
you
think
can
that's
see
definitely
these pictures. You know, when you go to, I'll use women as an example because they love taking pictures of themselves, mostly with their friends. But if you go to a woman's house, you see these pictures of, you know, oh, look at us, we're having a really great time. And you think, it's almost like they're trying to convince themselves that they're having a great time. And they need a picture to prove to themselves that that was a great night. And you think, it looks shit, you know, it looks like a shit place you're in, it looks boring, you know, you probably do it every week. Why do you need a picture of it?
Well, there's a very interesting article I read, actually, Messenger, on that very topic, where they were explaining how social media is programming people in such a way where they feel that they have to create a false self and a false sense of self, and it's actually leading to greater amounts of depression in people as well, because they're actually not happy, but they are portraying themselves as being happy in a particular setting or an environment via these pictures and sharing them on social media and so forth. So you've got a very, very valid point there, man.
Yeah, it's almost like a detachment of self, like a mask that they wear. Which could explain why they can't deal with being on their own. You know, they don't know themselves. Right. They spend half the time portraying themselves. I mean, we do it when we make content. We might step outside of ourselves and play a character, and that's almost like detaching yourself from the subject matter, because you might not want to feel it. You might want to get the message across, but you don't particularly want to feel a subject like suicide, or, you know, you don't really want to experience those emotions. So like they're portraying themselves as somebody else, and it's not really it's not honest. It's not being true to yourself.
Not genuine.
Yeah.
No, it's not genuine. No.
How many of you guys walk? I walk. I know Shiny walks. Gomez walks. And what we're doing is we're walking around our community, and like Gomez was saying, we're talking to people. I noticed for 10 years, I had no idea who my neighbors were around here until I started walking, and then I talked to them, and then I realized there's a whole neighborhood of people, you know, and I never knew them. We get stuck inside of ourselves, and we don't get out into the community anymore, and walking is just a great, healthy way of meeting all your neighbors. When I'm out there walking, I notice, man, there's only about 5 guys and 10 people in my whole neighborhood that aren't afraid to walk and just walk up to it's about a mile to the local store in the local area where we go shopping and stuff, so I don't take the car anymore. I just walk up there and say hello to all my neighbors as I go, and this is kind of, it's contrary. Everybody says Mgtows hate women, Mgtows are this and everything. But man, I say hello to all the women, and I smile, and, you know, walk by them, and you know, just be out in my community and active.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what happened to that? What happened to the neighborhood? What happened to? I mean, we talk about that all the time in the UK politics. Well, not all the time. It's something that the Tories used to talk about before Cameron and these current arseholes, they used to talk about going back to basics and the family values and the neighborhood and
Yeah.
I mean, what happened to all that?
Yeah, they equate that with family values, and that's a false equivocation. You know, your community, your neighborhood is for each individual to enjoy other individuals in his neighborhood. It has nothing to do with traditionalism or you know, country and that stuff. No, yeah, we've lost it because I don't know. We just don't do it anymore.
I think what's happened is a process of industrialization, and the computer age has actually participated in the downfall of social interactions as well.
Mm.
You know, where people
to a
kind of
point.
think.
Yeah, the kids, you know, we often hear it said, you know, he's just sitting around all day playing video games and he doesn't go out and play sports anymore. He does, you know, it's expected boys to be more.
Do you think it's also to do with that people they don't trust each other anymore? People
don't trust.
Don't get along with each other as much. It's like, oh, why is he talking to me? He must be after something. He must be trying to sell me something.
Yeah.
Or why is he? You know, why is she talking to me? Why is he talking to me? He must be coming on to me.
Yeah, I mean, we do live in an exploitative society to a great extent. That is partly a result of the way women think. It's partly a result of industrialization, partly a result of the computer industry. Also, it's a result of other various things that are in the mix there as well. And what tends to happen is that does result in detachment, in a devaluing of the person. And in fact, I came across a very interesting article the other day where they were discussing how people value each other, and it tends to be the case that we now operate on a cost-benefit analysis. Even we Mgtow are having to do that now because we unfortunately do live in this world, and so we're having to look at the cost-benefit analysis in order to see what benefits us and what doesn't. But greater society has taken it upon itself to place either a monetary value or looking for what the advantages are in a particular situation, rather than simply saying, there's a person in my local neighborhood. It could be that person has some unique insights into things that I haven't thought of. It could be this person's life experiences have merit and value of their own in their own right. But we don't do that anymore.
No. Yeah, the fear factor too, projected by TV. If you go outside, you're going to get raped, and that's the feminist rape culture thing.
Yep.
And I noticed this with my son too the other day when he come over, and he does it with his neighborhood, and he does it with my neighborhood. He's like, you know, is it a bad neighbor? He automatically asks me, is this a bad neighbor? Is this a good neighborhood? I says, no, I walk around here all the time. If people knew you could do that, I think there would be more people out. You know, if people knew that you weren't going to get raped or beaten, you know, when you're out. And even middle-class neighborhoods nowadays, what I hear is, oh, what's this neighborhood like? Is it bad? Can you know, it's like that's the fear thing projected by TV media, social media like we do. No, you can go outside. You're not going to get beaten up or raped.
No, that's true. That's so true. It's about adopting the correct register. You know, you aren't going to be coming back with 80 guys' phone numbers and be best buddies with a lot of them. It's literally you're only there to be seen and to acknowledge, and you know anything more is a bonus.
Yeah. I like that. Well, one thing we do have in Mgtow is we're all quite. I think you guys are the same. We're all quite happy when we see like a new Mgtow channel. You know, I think Mayor said it. He says if you have any other political or religious affiliations, you know, make them separate and make your Mgtow stuff on one channel. But we're always happy, you know, when we see like a new member introducing himself and saying, you know, just talking about general Mgtow stuff. So. I mean, how long do you think that will last, guys? How long do you think it'll be when we say, "Oh, well, what does this guy want? What does this deviant want?"
We seen that yesterday with the 62-year-old gentleman that made his. He's made a few videos, and about a week ago he started, and he says, "Oh, look at the." I've been looking at this Mgtow thing, and I realized that, you know, and all you guys are like me, and you think the same way as me, and that's providing some joy in his life. And his facial expressions, as when he said, you know, I'm not alone, was just the joyous facial expression on him. It just sunk right deep in my heart, and I thought, oh, that's perfect.
It's always good to see.
Yeah, it worked. What we did, it worked. Even if it's just in one guy.
In his comments, he's got everyone. He's got Vention, he's got Paul Proteus, he's got Barbarossa, he's got yourself, Joe. He's got Salucci. He's got everyone saying welcome, welcome. You know, for a small channel and not many views, but he just caught everyone's attention. And
yeah, it was his facial expressions and his joy about finding this. I think it was that special thing he had. This, you know, this, like we talked about the Robin Williams things. This is probably a guy that could have went the other way and imploded in life and been a very unhappy. You know, when he's seen the red pill, took it. Like if he would have rejected it, he could have been a suicide victim.
But do you see what I mean? Do you see what I mean when I say, you know, this this type of community? I mean, there was a time when if you saw somebody new in the neighborhood, you know, he was always welcome. You know, they go out of the way to, you know, make him feel at home or a new family, and that's what I think Mgtow has replaced. I think because when, for example, when Siet turned up, you know, he was like the new celebrity, and then you have Osiris here, he's the new celebrity. You know, everybody's wanting to find out about Osiris.
Yeah, Osiris got the voice.
Way to put him on the spot. He's gone all red now. I can see it. But do you see? And I'm afraid of it when it wanes. You know, when we get to that point where it's no longer a novelty and it's just another channel. I hope that day doesn't happen, but
yeah, they'll try to homogenize us, try to make us generic. I talked about that a little this week about they want to see us like them. They want to see us as miserable as them. They want to make us generic, this generic Mgtow, so it's acceptable by everybody.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen, because there's things that happen with that, and we get reduced. We become the Applebee's. Nobody wants that anymore. You know.
But I think the more widespread it becomes, and the more variations of, not necessarily variations of Mgtow, but the more people doing it their own way, the more accepting people are going to become of the fact that, okay, he's that type of Mgtow. You know, like you say, Joe, there's 3 types of Mgtow, or in this instance, there's 4 types, and people, you know, they'll see the clear divisions and see us all as one Mgtow, but they'll say, oh, you know, he's an older guy, he's experienced this, he's a younger guy, he's dealing with these issues, and we can sort of not pigeonhole people, but at least get a better understanding of each other's differences and similarities. But yeah, the more channels that come along, the more I enjoy hearing other people's experiences, because they're all different.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great thing to have diversity with people's channels. Oftentimes we will disagree about a lot of stuff as well. Like, I might not completely agree with somebody else's opinion on something, they might not agree with mine. And I think that's a perfectly acceptable way to be. But at the end of the day, because we are ultimately all aware of the value of one another as men, again, it just comes back to valuing your fellow man. And because we hopefully will continue to do this and continue to have that outlook, and we understand that, I don't think Mgtow could ever reach a point where it's going to be a case of, you know, there's just another new channel somewhere, and you know, that's not going to happen, I don't think.
No, but we're looking for that
I like
new
the
guy.
differences. You know, when we challenge each other, you can, you know, people sort of, sometimes I say to people, you sound a bit uneasy, because they do. They sort of say, well, you know, you seem like you're going in a direction that makes them feel uncomfortable. And I say, does that make you feel uneasy? And it provokes their opposing opinion. And then we can start to thrash it out. And I enjoy that, because even though I disagree, you can't reject someone's opinion 100%. You still will gain something of value from what they've got to say, and they will change your thinking, unless they're a complete fucking idiot and they say something moronic, or you know, have had death threats and all sorts of shit this week, and you just ban them. But people who disagree and are able to put it into words, and discuss it, those are the times. And I almost sometimes I think, okay, everything's a bit too nice now.
Nico says that a lot, doesn't he? He goes, I'm going to make everyone angry. I'm going to make everyone hate.
Put a spoke in the wheels and get people to challenge your thinking. And I think that's the best time, because Mgtow are renowned now. I think we are renowned for talking it out. When the day comes that we don't speak about our differences, or openly challenge each other in debates or conversations, that's the day when we may as well all just go our own way, because we're not going to learn anything. But I really like that, when it all gets blown up, and everybody. That's the thing. Nobody picks sides. Nobody will say, right, we're on this side, they're on that side. Everyone will say, well, I don't agree with you, I don't agree with you. Let's all come to the table, and everybody has to speak, because everybody differs, and then as a result of that we come to some conclusion and we're all better off. You know, that for me is, I'm enjoying that aspect of it now. So yeah, if I provoke responses, or if I'm controversial or I upset people, one, because I'm being truthful and I don't really give a fuck what people think, and two, because I want to hear a different opinion. That for me is.
I think two great examples of that was when we had Hangout Gate, when you know, a couple of guys. It started off with, well, come on, let's put it with one guy. He was really upset at what happened, and then he pointed it out to other people who were also outraged, and then there was a mass outrage. But you know, everybody came together on one channel, on one room, and we discussed it. I think it was quite productive. And then there was the recent one with the Black Exodus, you know, was opposing sides. Obviously, there could have been more voices added to that, but I think all the issues and all the topics was laid out there, and I think it was brilliant, the fact that everybody was able to discuss very opposing issues there.
Yeah, I learned a lot from both those things. You know, I took something away from them. If they would have never happened, I would have never taken something away from them.
Yeah, that's why I didn't like people silencing people or dismissing what they say. And people said, "Oh, it's not Mgtow's place to deal with that. You know, that aspect, that man's problem, specifically race." And I thought, why not? You know?
but it's funny you say that, because even I wanted to discuss that. You know, those people said, well, it's not Mgtow's place to deal with racism. I wanted to address that. I said, well, exactly, why not? Let's come talk about it. Why shouldn't Mgtow address this problem, and, you know, anything?
The problem was, as well, I mean, men had legitimate grievances, and they're not going to make this stuff up for attention. They've got legitimate grievances, and some of them I didn't understand, and I thought, hey, he's really fucking pissed off about that. You know, I need to understand, you know, what's happening here. But yeah, I mean,
it was an eye opener for me too.
Yeah.
I mean,
TFM.
Yeah, TFM and Adigan Forest, they came up with, you know, things I'd never heard before. Well, not Adigan, his friend Ovico, wasn't it? It was his friend Ovico that spoke most, but yeah, I never knew that, you know, that stuff, and to listen to TFM side of it as well, because I disagreed with him a lot, and just to hear what he, you know, what his thinking, Whereas before I thought it was just quite ignorant, but you know, just to hear it all hammered out, and I'm sure a lot of people. It's in fact it's my most watched podcast, so a lot of other people thought so too.
Yeah, I like talking to the Oracle, and then what I say I took away from that, he said something about in the effect of white people often pre-assume that, and I'll paraphrase, white people pre-assume that there's something wrong with black people, that there's a malady that they have to cure, and that it was just making them mad, and I didn't understand that at first. The next day, I turn on my YouTube, I go to my channels, and there was Aaron Clary doing the same thing he just said, and I said, geez, I understand that now perfectly. I understand, and
Could you flesh that out a little more to explain how that works? I missed that a little bit.
Okay, Aaron Clary was equating black people as having a pre-assumed malady, and what he used in that situation was the heart rate of a black man and the stress and what did he call that when the heart rate raises and then they die earlier. And I said, well,
palpitations?
Yeah, and he used that as sort of an intro to saying, okay, now if you think like I do, and the fallacy of if you just thought like I do, your life would be better. And then he went into that with that thing he was saying about. So he used it as a convenient conveyance to his next point, which didn't make no sense, and he was placing maladies on black people like into extreme cases. They'll say, well, black people are stupider, black people are this, black people are that. You can always do that. And you just have to, get off your butt and find a job. That's placing a malady. What you're saying is they have an inability to do that from the beginning. It's a preconception. And Oracle, he enlightened me to it. And then I don't think I did it, but when I seen Aaron Clary do it, I was like, oh, there it is, right in my face. And thank you, Oracle. I went and I thanked him for it. Thanks, I see it now. And
yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, I think in those instances what's happening is, without realizing it, people are almost advocating eugenics to an extent,
right.
or the theories behind it, and that's a nonsense because they are not scientifically informed enough about these things. Prime example is this, and I'm always talking about these things to some of the young people, young guys that I know in my locality, which is nutrition. And people oftentimes don't get what the connection is. But like, say for example, if you were to say there's a section amongst Afro-Caribbean people in the UK, let's say, and they're not performing well academically, let us say, just as an example. I don't believe in academia because I think it's all bollocks, but let's just take that. Then again, people oftentimes ignore the fact that even if you have a genetic predisposition towards intellect, it's not going to show up if you're not getting the right nutrition, which may be because of economic governmental policies. There might be a whole bunch of other things involved in that as well, family dynamics, the way that women in society in general perceive that particular group as well. So there's a whole bunch that comes into play in this, and it is not remotely scientifically correct to say that you can put it down to genetics or to a specific group of people localized and say that's a problem for them inherently. It is not.
Right. It's not an inherent problem. It's bigger. It's poverty has a lot to do with things. There's a lot of things that society does, and the more you broaden your mind to these things, the more you see. Oh yeah, there are problems. But if most of my life and most I know most of my white friends' lives, we never think about those things, and that's what he was saying. Just think about them for a second. And okay, yeah, I did, and yeah, he was right. There's bigger issues, or it's not an inherent issue.
No, not at all. a lot of it again does go down to the way that society is formed, and you know, this notion of white privilege, is it a truth or is it a fallacy? Yeah, a lot of people are afraid to address this issue, white and black alike, purely because it is such a loaded issue to deal with.
Right.
And the narratives in both cases, from both perspectives, sometimes have been very damaging.
Right. Yeah, we have to look at these things on two ends of the bar. You can go, you know, we can look at the inherent issue here, and we can look at the other issue of white people are privileged, and that's on the broader, on the other side of the bar. But it doesn't make it right. Somewhere in the middle is where we have to end up here. You know.
Yeah, but again, that takes a lot of information to be able to understand this. A prime example is, I don't want to go too much into this, it's just because you guys have brought it up, is to do with the slave trade, for example, which persisted throughout the European colonies and through the Americas. And I would argue it was probably initiated by the Spanish monarchy. But in essence, that was not your average everyday Joe, you know, Mr. Joe Blogs down the street who's a plumber or something. What the fuck did he have to do with any of that? Nothing. But what you did have were tremendously powerful dynasties that have pervaded society for a long time, who were implementing their economic policies, their will. Like I discussed the last time with you guys, feminism, for example, we all know the roots of it as Mgtow. It was all to do with the cultural Marxism that popped up and essentially infiltrated virtually every free-thinking society. And so in a similar vein, where these things came from, who created them, why were they created, a point that was raised earlier, in fact, was that some of the most supposedly powerful people that are running the system are also obeying the rules of gynocentrism, right? And people don't see that. Like in one of my introductory videos, I made the point that Blair and Bush, for example, did not go to war in Iraq because they wanted to, right? They went to war in Iraq because through various means their wives had actually manipulated them into making that decision. It's a strange thing to say, but people have never looked at it from that perspective.
Yeah,
they're two manginas, aren't they?
Yeah.
Me and Gomez were just talking about that, the Custer thing. With Custer at the Little Bighorn, he was marching his soldiers around trying to get to Libby.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
He was thinking blue pill, trying to get to his wife and knock a piece off that night, and he was never thinking about how harmful it was to the Indians and how harmful it was to his soldiers.
Yeah, you're completely right about this. So there were these kind of mechanisms at play when a lot of these things were instituted. And so when the issue of slavery came up, it wasn't your average Joe in America that was enslaving black people en masse. It was the landowners that had been put in place by the British Empire. And the British Empire was not, again, your average British person. It was the monarchy, the aristocracy, these people. This is what they essentially prided themselves on. So you had this conflict that arose because of that, because obviously if you take a man, and it was primarily men and later women were enslaved as well, if you take a man and you put him in a situation where he is subjugated and has zero value,
right?
You're not going to make him happy. His future generations are not going to be happy, to put it mildly. You're going to create a lot of conflict artificially by doing this. So this is what's happened over time, is that human beings have confused the issues. And the sad thing is, some of the average Joes that we're talking about that weren't directly responsible, indirectly what happened was, because they had been taught again, this brainwashing thing has happened for a long time, since the inception of the original Americas as a country. You find that the southern states, for example, and this whole thing that popped up recently with the Confederate flag and all this sort of thing, you find that your average person buys into the same ideology as the aristocracy, because that's what they were raised with, that's what they were brought up with, to believe this nonsense. So they're at times indirectly supporting the system which exists, just like we might say that blue pill men, for example, are indirectly, because through their ignorance, they've been brainwashed so heavily, they're indirectly supporting a gynocentric system. It isn't that different in terms of the slave trade or relations between different races today.
It functions in exactly the same way as you were alluding to. I mean, the point they're basically making is that whenever there's some kind of conflict, one person is white and one person is black, they've just been keeping a tally and going, well, look, we're coming off worse more times than maybe we should have.
Sure.
Statistically based, it's essentially, I think, what racism is. Now, of course, it's easy to see something like racist attitudes if you can identify them in media, see how that sort of situation might be perpetuated.
Sure.
And in exactly the same way we do the same thing with with gynocentrism. We go, well, look, every time we get into a conflict with a woman, we come off worse. They're saying nothing different.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I would also say that, again, it just comes down to education. The education system, not to stand on a soapbox or anything, although I kind of am, so apologies.
We did it.
But the education system is such where facts are no longer respected. A great example of this is, what are a lot of women studying in university? Oh, gender studies. Is this a science? This is not a science. It deals with no facts, no concrete proofs, not even a decent hypothesis to start with.
People are not going to look either. They're just going to blindly accept that. And we just seen a great example of that this weekend. When the gay issue passed, and then now that the feminists came out and said that there was I owe another $1. They said that that counties in Georgia and Alabama were not doing marriages. They were refusing to do marriages for gay marriage, and they would just stop doing marriages. But if you look deeper and you go to the counties that they noted, you would find that those counties never did marriages.
Yeah.
The last marriage that they did in that county was 1854.
Well, this is absolutely it, man. It's like false ideas, false things being implanted into people's minds, and it's a nonsense. And again, if we look at the proper sciences, biology, for example, or genetics, we discover something truly remarkable, which is, whilst there may be differences within various people geographically, this is a result of evolution. So natural selection has decided that some people's features may be different, some people's pigmentation may be different. The list goes on and on, essentially. But at the core base level, there is virtually no difference between myself and somebody who's Japanese, or somebody who's an Aborigine from Australia, or somebody who's Anglo-Saxon from England. So there's literally no difference in terms of this is why we can actually, when it comes to, and more people should be taught this, they genuinely should, but obviously there's ideological reasons why they're not, which is blood types. It makes zero difference whether during a transfusion you are given the same type of blood from a person from another originating country.
Okay.
So if we can transfuse blood from different races, and we call them races, I think that's a misnomer slightly, but let's just use the terminology because people are kind of happy with that. But even if we do, on a basic biological level, there are minimal differences at best. It's not even that big a thing. But again, these things aren't taught to kids in primary schools. Instead, they're taught these nonsensical, bollocksed up notions of equality, which are nothing to do with respecting your fellow human beings for who they are.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. That's right, and obviously the theories and the ideas behind promoting racism, they say, yeah, they say it was all to do with specific genders, and I think one thing that is common with all racists, you know, they're actually very, very ignorant, you know, to say that,
Yes.
you know, one skin color, one skin shade is better than another. You know, they make for better people. It's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Because if you think about it, history showing every single nation at some point or another had dominance over all the other nations. The superpower would change from different nations. It was never about the skin color or the, you know, just like obscure little trivial characteristics like that at all. I mean,
Yeah, and I was thinking about a point that Nico made a couple of days ago as well, with regards to dehumanizing people. And I think he was, in retrospect, quite right about that, in that when people start to dehumanize others, they can then very easily paint them as the enemy and thus value them as human beings. And that can play into things significantly. The difference between that and Mgtow philosophy, though, is that when we discuss women, we're not promoting an ideology here. This is a key thing. We're looking at the facts around particular situations or scenarios. We're looking at the outcomes of certain events. We're looking at the legislation that's implemented in certain places.
and the consequences.
Precisely. Precisely.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at things from a very analytical, one might even say scientific perspective, and saying, well, can we draw these conclusions? There's certain things that are not sciences per se, like I was saying last time about evo-psych and such. These are, I personally don't consider them to be proper sciences yet, just because the jury's out on the data. If that data becomes conclusive at some point, then we can say, yes, we can refer to it and say, well, look, we can draw these conclusions from that. But regardless of how we look at it, it must be from a rational, logical perspective. It must be through processing the information correctly and then drawing the correct conclusions around that. That's not demonizing somebody. That's just saying, well, see your general tendencies as a group, as a sociological group, your general tendencies via evidence-based research suggests this seems to be the most likely outcome in a scenario. This is how you will behave.
Getting into the little nitty-gritty there, I think people generally will associate with an ideology, with concepts, with a group that will promote that will have their interests at hand. So if black people see a group that promotes black supremacy, black people will float towards that. Or if white people see, and by the way, I think skin color and race is an artificial social construct. I'm absolutely on board with CFM on that. It's a modern invented divide for whatever reasons, but generally speaking, people will drift towards ideologies and philosophies that will promote them specifically over other people. But if you, like you say, look at it fact-based, scientifically, logically, and rationally, it doesn't make sense for us to divide up into racial groups, because we will so in the end we will suffer, because as a society, as a world society, we share one planet, and when we start demonizing, dehumanizing an entire group of people, specifically men. We're going to wipe these guys out. We're going to try and wipe these guys out. And as history has shown, it's always been detrimental. It's always been to a very, very negative effect.
That's always been the case through history, absolutely, yeah.
For some reason, I just started thinking about the Caitlyn Jenner thing as we were talking about that.
Okay, explain that one.
I don't know where I went.
Well, I've got something to say on that because I don't know if I've told you guys, but I think Bruce, he saw how his daughters, his adopted daughters, his wife, and all the women around him, who basically they don't have any skills, they don't have any particular talent. They've just been bestowed, these riches and this fame and this influence just because they were women. So he's decided, well, that's what I'll do, and it goes back to my concept again of people will associate and they will join groups with which they think will promote their interests. So he's thinking, well, women, they get everything for nothing, so I'll be a woman.
Yeah, look at that speech he did. It was horrible. It was horrendous. Crossing Ways, which is an actual, transgender woman to man or man to woman. I can't remember. It was inflamed about that speech that she gave because she did she catered to the women. She catered to he catered or she catered, but there was something so still Bruce Jenner in there about him. He came out and he said the hardest thing in life, and I can understand girls, was picking out this dress.
I think there's a couple of things at play when it comes to, and again, this is purely just my personal opinions on this, partly backed by science, but nonetheless, I'll just preface this before saying what I'm going to say. One is that because men are devalued to such a great extent, it's entirely possible for a man to feel that he would gain more worth as a woman, even subconsciously perhaps. So I think that could be at play. The other thing is in regards to the actual scientific data that's out there, which suggests something interesting. And this actually blows out of the water feminists' ideas about gender roles and gender being a social construct, which it isn't. You find that the biological research that's been conducted, the brain scans, the analysis of hormones and so forth, and genetics, does seem to be suggesting, and it's purely suggesting it at this point, we can't draw any necessary conclusions from that, which is that these biological changes within a person tend to suggest what gender they identify with or as. And if this is the case, and if this data is correct, and obviously more research needs to be done into this, then this blows out of the water the myth that we choose our genders, or that they are social constructs, or that men should be forced to become androgynous, or that women should be forced to become androgynous, and so forth, and all this nonsense. In point of fact, what we're finding is that the research suggests that behaviors are actually shaped by our biology, and that our biology ultimately is the driving force behind how we behave.
I think any honest person, I think anybody who's sincere and is going to be honest to himself, is going to know that what JTO says is absolute rubbish about gender being a social. It is absolutely rubbish because anyone can see that women are attracted to men and men are attracted to women. That is generally the case. Men react to certain things, for example, spiders, insects, and stuff. Women react to them, but very different. Just little things like that. And you could scientifically put it on data and sheets and graphs and stuff. But I think anyone can see that it's true. Men and women are totally different. They react differently. They want different things. They it's so obvious. I think it's just so obvious. I think anybody who's genuine can see that. But yeah, you get the odd person who says, who seems to act quite feminine or masculine, androgynous, I think is the word. But this is the exception. This is the very, very fine exception, and I think that this study of trying to make out that it's a social I think it's very harmful. I think it's driving people to do very, very stupid things, and hurting themselves and hurting the people around them. I think it's a very pseudoscience, I think, is the word.
Yeah,
yes.
We just we talked about this the other day. I think it was with Osiris too. That video with Zoe, the other transsexual, and then
with Barbarossa, was it?
Yeah, maybe it was. He put it on there, and then there was the smallish male, and he at one point Zoe says, "If you keep doing that, I'm gonna kick your ass." And I was like, "Oh, there it is. There's the man in her. Can't beat that biology." And he prompted that out of her so well. She can identify all day she wants with that, and at the end of the day, when push came to shove, she or he used sexual dimorphism in a matter where she threatened the other male.
Ice cream van.
A porno film playing in the background.
I don't know how to use it. I'm gonna put on hold for a second.
Yeah.
I felt like...
Go on, Sylvie.
Yeah, no, I just felt like I was in an elevator there for a second, man.
Yeah, nice elevator meter. But no, this is exactly what attracts Mgtow. I think this is the very attraction of Mgtow. It's the fact that we that we're saying that men should be masculine. In fact, it used to be a mantra of a lot of Mgtows. It says, we're trying to reclaim our masculinity. It's all right for a man to act like it's all right to say that a man acts like a man and a woman acts like a woman. It's all right. We're telling guys, let's get back to that. Instead of trying to because I think it is true that society is trying to make it a more gender neutral society, and I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's it's helping society or mankind along, and it's also something that's discussed as well. Are we moving forward? Are we evolving as a human race? I think
they're going for the wrong thing. I think the focus on sexuality is the wrong direction to be looking. When you consider what what men tend to do for work, right? It's this perpetual focus, narrow down onto a specific thing. When we talk about values, right? Are you a valuable man or not? This is most often measured against something that you're proficient at, but it's never measured against the things that you aren't proficient at that perhaps you could be, right? So if I was an IT consultant, I'm not, but if I was, then I would be incredibly valuable as an IT consultant and utterly irrelevant as a chef, or utterly irrelevant as a joiner, or any other number of things you might want to measure me against. And this what do you do question, it plays such a huge part of what becomes male's identity. So I'm not sure that messing around with sex and gender is really the best exploration for these people to be doing when they could be looking at what is it that why do they think they're feminine? Is it perhaps that they just don't want to be pigeonholed into this tight little narrow existence, and they see that maybe as an escape, a chance to be more valuable for themselves for what they actually do in life.
Well, we're seeing it, aren't we? I mean, the more women are put into male roles, the more they're fucking up. Let's be honest. They haven't been much good at anything else in the past. Never mind doing what men do.
Well, they're experiencing that same sort of dejectedness that men feel when they find that they're just pressing a button every 3 seconds for 8 hours a week. Not 8 hours a week, 40 hours a week, right? That's my work experience right there, 8 hours. But yeah, now that women want men's jobs, as it were, right? If we can use that parlance, they're finding that actually it's crap, right? Because you do the one thing, and you do it well, and you do nothing else, and you feel terrible about it, and you just sort of, the guys that wish the world would end.
Yeah.
Right? It's not because they want the world to end. They just want more to do with their life than pressing that one button.
Exactly. No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's well said. And I mean, how many women do you know that want to quit the career? And I mean, these women, like I don't know if you've got sisters or old school friends, and you remember when they were young, they had all these ambitions to be career ladies and make money. I mean, I see them all now. They all want to be housewives. They'll fight other women, so that they can have this guy who'll go out and work, so they can be housewives. And I remember growing up with these girls. They were adamant they were going to be like scientists and engineers and computer technicians and stuff. And now they're just dying to be housewives, and they've got these degrees which. They spent years getting, and they've got like all this these CVs with all these work experience, and it doesn't mean anything to them. These are lawyers, and in fact, I don't want to name any names, but just in case any of my family's listening.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm trying to think of a woman now who isn't like that. They got degrees. They spent like hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of pounds, training themselves up to have a specific career, and now all they want to do is to have babies and pretend to cook. That's all they want to do. Stay at home. But
it's more than that, because babies ask questions about the world and they need answers, right? So you need a level of proficiency in so many different areas. You have a varied body of experience. In order to rear a child and prepare it for the world, you have to know a little bit about everything, right? And I guess men at some point would have played that role too, this universal role of being a little bit of everything. But it's just the model of competition that we've adopted as the Western society is focused us down. There's no benefit to me laying a fence when I can pay someone to do it and go do the thing I'm good at. And I don't think women like it. I honestly don't. I think a lot of their complaints about the world generally is this sort of dissatisfaction that they feel. They wanted men's work, now they've got it. They're kind of like, actually, this isn't very good.
Yeah.
Yep. That's very true. In fact, if you look at the figures for what women generally study in colleges and universities and such, you do find that the majority of people that are in certain studies, say for example the sciences, engineering, even the catering businesses, chefs, you name it, you find that there's an overwhelming majority of men involved in those professions or studying towards going into that profession rather than women. And that's a result of personal choices. This is not a result of society telling, because bear in mind, we've had this notion of equality for the last God knows how many decades now. And women still, when they have the choice, when they're presented with the choice, choose to go into careers which are fitting for their gifts, if you like. And men tend to choose things which are they're naturally inclined to do. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what happens to a society like this? What happens to a society where they've mistakenly believed in this pseudoscience where men and women should be doing each other's jobs, and men are actually guys, we don't need you after all, and men are played down. I mean, what happens to a society like that?
Well, you end up with mass numbers of psychological illnesses. You end up with the exact problems that we're seeing today, in fact, amongst women and amongst men. men, because they no longer understand their place in society, they don't feel they have anything to contribute, which is another great sadness and a shame upon society itself for having put them in that position. Suicide rates are going through the roof amongst young men and also some older men. You find that record numbers of women are suffering from psychiatric illnesses, such as bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, clinical depression. And this is because they no longer understand the dynamics because there are none, and they chose that. So it's a self-imploding society. This is not a society that can repair itself. One of the things that kind of got me a little bit irked, I was looking at through YouTube recently, some of the channels that I kind of watch on occasion and lurk on, and somebody had put up this thing. I can't recall for the life of me who it was. Maybe you guys can say on that, but somebody had actually put up a video, or was it a comment? I can't recall. Somebody said that oh well, because we're going down this path, it's entirely possible that we will now end up in a more masculine, men-oriented, patriarchal system again. And personally, I believe that's a complete nonsense. Purely because once you reach critical mass, so to speak, where society has degenerated to this point, and it has degenerated. I don't think there's any other word you can use, really. It's become self-destructive. And it's gotten to a point now where it is beyond repair. And the reason for this, again, is to do with indoctrination. If you've indoctrinated generation after generation after generation, it takes decades for those generations to then grow up and then to implement those very same ideas that they were told to. So this is a dangerous, destructive, corrosive society we live in. It's only going to end up, not to sound eschatological in this, but it is going to end up being a complete mess before long. Within our lifetimes, I just see it.
But isn't that interesting, though? I mean, if there is a natural way of things, if people are not in a position, not in a career, not in a lifestyle that they're supposed to be in, not only do they suffer, but when it's like on the scale that we're talking about, when it's right across society, where nobody's doing what they should naturally be doing, when men aren't sure if they should be women, or women aren't sure they should be men, and they're both doing each other's duties, and they have each, you know, the way you describe, then that society will fail. I mean, surely that tells you that there is a natural way, there is a natural course that people should be taking for each individual. I mean, my mind always casts over to Japan, because obviously Japan, they've been doing it now. I think they're in a far more advanced decay in terms of social gender.
Yes.
I think they're far more advanced, and it's interesting to see what they're saying about Japan, that they're not going to have enough people to run the country as it is now in say 15 years, I think was the figure. And some are saying a lot less. And about 20 years ago, they were talking. They were saying that, you know, Japan's going to be so overpopulated that they're going to have to dig up the soil from underneath the ground, from underneath the sea, and expand the country like that. And now they're saying, no, there's not going to be enough people now.
That's correct. That's correct. One of the things I didn't want to bring this up the last time we were talking, but I'll bring it up now because I think it is relevant to an extent in this discussion, which is how fiat currency is generated. Most people do not know this. Most people don't understand how an economy functions because they are not allowed to have this knowledge. What tends to happen is central banks view things in the following way. Each person that is born, regardless of whether they're a man or a woman, each person that is born is extrapolated to have a particular value economically based upon their expected earnings from birth. Now, what happens is, as that person grows older, their decisions and life choices then begin to alter the variables within the formula they use. Originally, the insurance industry used something called the Black-Scholes formula to calculate this. And as that happens, you find that the personal debt that each person is assigned by any bank, because bear in mind debts are sold from bank to bank to bank, and this is how you end up being able to apply for a credit card and be approved, because they already have a set number in front of them that tells them, well, this person's expected or projected earnings will be this, and so they can offer you that credit. And when this happens, that is how the economic earnings and the GDP and so forth is calculated. It's a result of the expected earnings of each individual balanced against the debts of that nation, which are the accumulated potentials that are assigned to each individual. Now, if you have a decline in the birth rates, something extraordinarily interesting happens, which is that the debt that the country owes increases because of the compound interest payments, but the GDP starts to decrease, and so does the growth in that particular country. This is why you're starting to see a slowdown in terms of China's productions. Japan has gone through the same things, because basically the wealth of a nation comes down to its population and how many people are born or are not. So the fertility rates are directly and inherently linked through banking, through insurance, to the wealth of a nation. And so because birth rates have fallen off a cliff across the Western world, it means that the economies that we are in are also going to tank, and we've already seen the 2008 crash. Personally, I'm projecting there's going to be another one in at the end before the end of 2015, and this will continue for a number of years. I don't think we're going to see any increases in production. The so-called economic recoveries we're seeing are a result of certain monetary policies that were implemented that were not actually designed to solve the problem. They're only designed to kick the can further down the road. And as I say, because birth rates have fallen so drastically, not only is the population that's going to be working in future decreased, but the wealth of the country. It's common sense, the wealth of the country decreases.
Well, it's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see what unravels in the next few years. I mean, we've already seen Greece going down that route. They want to cut away from the IMF and all that.
Yep.
We've seen what happened in Iceland. Iceland threw out the government. They threw out their government. We haven't heard news from that. And then, of course, you've got Spain. They changed their government as well.
That's
but,
right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what unravels. I mean, people are predicting doomsday, predicting Armageddon. I don't know. And then some people are saying, no, it's going to be fine. It's going to be all right. But I think whatever happens to Japan, I don't know. I actually made a video on this as well. Possible outcomes, possible remedies that the country will come up with. But yeah, I'm gonna sign out, guys. I'm gonna talk to you guys later.
No
Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop the broadcast here really soon. I have a guest coming over. I scheduled this at 2 o'clock, and we've gone over a little bit, but boy, I wish we could talk forever.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Joe. It's nice. Thank you for having me in the room, and it's.
Thanks for showing up. You're a fascinating person. I hope you come around a lot more.
Yeah, it's been great. But I've got to go start dinner, so you guys take care of yourselves and have a good one.
Yeah, take care, Osiris.
Okay, I'm going to end this broadcast now, and there'll be a little chat afterwards, but that's what I'm going to do, end the broadcast now. Thanks a lot, everybody.